reasons. Welcome back to the Anti-Social Podcast. This will be episode 16. I'm going to cheat a bit this week and have a bit of an in-between episode. No guests this week. A couple of reasons. One, time got away from me a little bit over the last week or so. We're getting into the silly time of the year with Christmas looming only a couple of weeks away. And I do have a few guests lined up to do episodes with, but I just figured the way that the week is looking at the moment, I think it's probably better just to focus on getting those recordings done more so than rushing to get another episode with a guest out. So I'm going to focus on getting them done. There's a couple of really interesting people that I haven't quite locked in yet, but if I can, especially one in particular, if I can get this person, it'll probably be one of the most, probably one of the more ridiculous guests that I'll probably ever have, but also very interesting. But I won't go into too much more of that until I know a bit more. But the person is interested, but at this point in time, it was going to be tonight, actually, the 7th of December, but it got postponed. Now it looks like it'll probably be mid-January, just due to timing and schedule and that time of the year. So I'll shelf that idea for the time being, but if I can get this person, it'll be pretty crazy. So I thought, just to keep the podcast moving, keep the momentum going, and keep some content out there, I thought I'd put together a little bit of a rant episode and touch on a couple of different things, just so there's at least some content out there. So if you get anything out of this, fantastic. If you don't, well, whatever. So it's something out there that you can listen to and hopefully get something out of it, or even just a bit of a chuckle, or feel the need to blast me on social media if you think I'm full of it. So there's two sections to this particular episode, and I'll get the rant out of the way first, and then I'll focus on the second part of it. But there is a common theme here, and it's all around flying, and it's being at airports. And we've just finished our plane to win tour, and we do have one more show. Actually, I will plug one more show. The last show of the year is the small ballroom in Newcastle on the 19th of December. It's a Saturday, and we're playing with a whole range of bands up in Newcastle. That'll be our last show of the year, so definitely come out and see us play before we go into hiding for a few months to do a bunch of recording and all sorts of things and prep ourselves and get ready for Prog Power in September next year. That's not to say that we won't do any shows in between, but at this point in time, Prog Power is our main focus, to get some other things going behind the scenes as well. So we'll definitely reveal more as the months progress. So that last show is in a week and a half or so. So if anyone is listening that is either in the Sydney area or a bit north of Sydney, heading up towards Newcastle, by all means come along and check us out, and should be a good night. But going back to what I was saying, the tour finished, and it wasn't a huge tour, but we did a fair bit of flying, and I think on average per year, I probably do, about 30 to 35 flights a year. And it's not a lot compared to a lot of other people that are sort of within the similar circles that we're in. But I guess it is still probably above average for the average person out there. It's funny with flying, especially when you're a kid and you first go to the airport and you have that whole experience, and especially for people that probably fly once a year or even less than that, once every few years, it can be quite an exciting place. There's a lot of energy, a lot of buzz, there's a lot of people, and usually the reason for flying somewhere is for an event or for a particular positive purpose, whether it be a holiday or, for some people, they travel to see bands play, they go to Europe and go to the festivals, or, weddings or anything. So it's usually a lot of great feeling and excitement and anticipation, and the airport sort of adds to that whole experience, because it's a very unique sort of place when you think about it, compared to other areas that you would normally associate yourself with, and it's a very unique place. There's a unique social buzz around an airport because it is quite high volume. There are particular things that you see when you fly more often, that kind of takes the buzz and the excitement away from it. And, some people could say it's the long waits, it's the amount of people, it's the expensive food and drink and whatever else that's sold at the airport. It could be the fear of flying, it could be anything. But there's particular things that we've picked up, and especially for me, that just constantly show every time you go there. And whether it's a case that you're just experiencing it more so from people that are flying for the first time, or people that just don't care or have got no awareness of themselves, or more awareness of other people around them, more so than anything else. So I thought I'd put together a top 5 of the top 5 don'ts at the airport. Don't do these things. And I've got a couple of bonus ones on top of that as well, which I'll add in. But these are things that just I see every single time I go to the airport. And, for me, you can look at the bigger picture and not whinge about these things. And they're definitely first world problems. But I think for anybody who's in the same boat as me or a similar boat who does frequent the airport constantly, you can probably relate to some of these things that I'm about to say. So straight off the bat, number 1, a large suitcase is not oversized. So don't stand in the oversized check-in lane, and don't stand there just because you're in a big group. So you see, for us, we've got our guitars and we've got drum equipment and everything. So it's stuff that can't go into the normal check-in. So not every airline's got this. We're quite lucky with Virgin Airlines that we primarily fly with these days, that most of the airports around have got their own oversized lane, especially here in Sydney, which is great. So you beat the traffic, you beat the long lines of people, and it makes it easier when you've got a lot of gear. So you can just chuck it on a trolley and wheel it up there and you're fine. You don't have to weave your way through this long aisle. But what we always find is that there's people there that have got their large suitcases, and look, maybe you can class them as oversized compared to a normal suitcase, but they're still just a normal big suitcase, and they stand there and they go straight to oversized, and unfortunately they don't get declined, they don't get pushed back, so they still allow these people to check in. The other problem is when you've got a party of probably, say 5 or more people, they tend to think that they're oversized themselves, so they wait in that line as well, which is a huge pain in the ass. But this is a first world problem, and there's still bugger all people in the line compared to checking in normally. But it always irks us when we see someone standing there with their large pink suitcase and thinking that they can check that in oversized, probably because it's too heavy for them to carry normally. So that's number 1. Number 2, on the subject of bags, my rule is if your bag has wheels, it's not carry-on. Sorry, I'm probably pissing off a lot of people, and I'm sure that some of these bags can fit into that little square container thing that shows the size of carry-on luggage. But if your bag has wheels, that means that either A, it's too heavy, or B, you're lazy as all hell, and it should be checked in. Because the amount of times you get onto a plane and everybody's got these bags, and everyone breaks the rules anyway. Majority of the bags that get put onto the plane are bigger than that box that's indicated to show the size of the carry-on luggage limit. And if you can't pick your bag up above your head to put it in the oversized compartment, then it shouldn't be on the plane. Now, I don't care if you're 70 years old, it doesn't matter. You check that in. And it's just the most irritating thing that you can possibly think of, because it's not even a case that you run out of room, which happens quite often on flights, but the amount of hassle and space that it takes up, especially when people are trying to go down those aisles and they're trying to lift them up, they drop them on people's heads. You open the overhead compartments and they fall out. And I'll tell you what, majority of those suitcases that are getting chucked in the overhead compartments are not less than 8 kilos. They are heavy as all hell. And unfortunately, they don't really get weighed by the airline, and they're not really policed terribly well either. So it's a huge pain in the ass. But I know that a lot of people tend to side with the roller bag as carry-on because they don't want to waste time checking in the luggage and then having to wait at the baggage carousel after they get off the plane. But, tough titties, that's what you should be doing, and stop inconveniencing everybody else. So that's number 2. Number 3, going through security. If in doubt, take it all out or take it all off, and do it in advance. So depending on where you're going in the world, it can change. Some places are a lot stricter than others, but take everything out of your bag. If you've got something that's even has a slight resemblance to a computer, take it out. Just chuck it in the tray. Take everything out of that bag. If you've got guitar gear, take it out. If you've got deodorant cans, take it all out. If you've got drinks or whatever, take it all out. If you've got boots with potential steel caps, take them off. If you've got a belt, take it off. But don't do it in the line standing right there when you're about to go through the security area. Take it off and do everything before you even get to the first table where the trays are. Get prepped and get ready, and don't hold the line up when you're stuffing around. When you go through the security thing and it goes off because you've got metal on you still and you realise that you still got half your jewellery all over you, wrapped around your neck and all over your arms, or you've got your belt on still, or they keep pulling your bag back through because you've still got crap in your bag that you haven't taken out. Just take everything out. And it might be a pain in the ass that you have to pack it back in, but you're still going to get through quicker than taking the risk and seeing whether you get through or not. And I'll touch a bit more about that carry-on bag a little bit later. Number 4 is don't panic. The plane's not going to leave without you if you're already at your gate. So if you're standing there at the gate and they're calling to say that they're going to start boarding, don't start pushing to try and get to the front of the fucking gate. Just wait. They usually call out your rows or your sections. Just chill out because you've got an assigned seat. No one's going to take your seat. The only thing that you may have to worry about is your overhead compartment where your luggage is. And to be honest, if you're worrying about that, then chances are you're carrying too much onto the fucking plane anyway. So you just need to chill out and know that there are multiple calls, and you can really wait until the very final last minute if you really wanted to. So don't panic. Don't get annoyed when other people don't move and they don't get up, or you can't get to the front and someone's dawdling in front of you. Everybody's getting onto the plane, and the plane will not leave without you if you are at the gate and you're there ready. So just relax and chill out. And number 5, once you're on the plane, don't shove people to try and get to your seat. It's not a race. You don't need to panic. As I said before, you've got an assigned seat, so you're not going to lose the seat. You just walk. Walk and stop. Walk and stop. When people stop to put their stuff in the overhead or they go to sit down or whatever, just stop. Wait. You don't have to push past them. Just wait. No one's going to get shitty at you because you're not moving past them. Just wait and just let people get into their seats. There is no rush. There's no need to panic whatsoever. And it's the same when the plane lands and you're trying to get off the plane. Yeah, okay, you might have a connecting flight, but pushing through people is not going to make the trip any quicker. It's not going to get you off the plane any quicker. Just relax and wait. If you're really concerned about a connecting flight, then call the buzzer when the plane's about to descend so that at least the flight attendant knows that you've got a connecting flight and they can let you know what the best thing is to do. So at least you've got a strategy by the time you get off the plane. But don't push through people. Don't stand there with your head crouched underneath the overhead compartment, desperately trying to push through the person in front of you to get into the aisle so you can jump up and get to the bags first. And those dickheads who jump up when the plane hasn't even stopped moving and they're trying to get their bags out, just calm down. You're going to get off the fucking plane. There's plenty of time. And the amount of times you see this is just so irritating and ridiculous, especially when people huff and puff and get really flustered and annoyed and anxious because the line's not moving and they're going, what's going on? What's going on? Where's the, why isn't the door open, or why aren't we getting off? It's just fucking relax. What can you do to change the situation? Nothing. So just stop, shut the fuck up and just wait, because everybody's in the same position as you are. So there's no need to keep pushing through or cursing or getting shitty because, things aren't going in your favor. So just shut the fuck up. So they're my 5 that I thought of off the top of my head that I've noticed quite a bit just on the last few flights that we've had of this tour. I've got a few bonus ones which I've just thought of off the top of my head, which I thought might be worthy of mentioning. I did mention the seatbelt thing very briefly. Not that it really matters terribly, but the light's on for a reason. Just fucking keep it on until the light goes off. Just follow the rules. Why do you have to break them? Why do you have to take the belt off before the light goes off? If it was any issue with it, then they wouldn't even have the light on for that long. So just wait until the engine's turned off, wait until the light goes off, and then take your belt off. Because as soon as you start unclicking the belt, then everyone goes into a mass panic and there's this massive rush to get off the plane. Just chill and wait for that light to go off. Mark Furtner, shout out to him because he's notorious at doing this and likes to do it just to piss me off. Another big one, which we haven't had on this tour, but we've definitely had it in the past, is delays due to weather or like an outside, something outside of our control, whether it be a mechanical issue or something like that, or there's been a delay with an inbound flight or something like that. And just people getting really shitty at the ground staff because the plane's not leaving on time, or there's been a significant delay or a cancellation or something like that. And just people going off at the ground staff. Now, I understand that people have important things that they're trying to get to, and probably things that mean a lot to them, whether it be a family event or festival or a concert or a holiday or whatever it might be. But in the end, you can only control what you can control. And by abusing and going off at the ground staff at the gate or at the terminal, at the check-in counter or whatever it may be, is going to do jack shit. So once again, shut the fuck up and just wait for the announcements and see what happens. There's no point. There's no point whatsoever. It just gets more and more people more riled up. You get more and more upset yourself. To me, even in the worst case scenario, which we've had before, where we've been ready to go to and play a show interstate, and we've actually, I think, it was a few years ago, we were flying down to Melbourne and we're playing, I don't know where we were playing in Melbourne, but beside the point, we were playing the Corner Hotel. Anyway, we were flying to Melbourne and there's massive, massive thunderstorms over Melbourne, and we actually flew and we were about to start our descent, and then they said we'd have to circle for quite some time until hopefully the storm would pass so we can get down safely. And we continued to circle, and they said, look, there's going to be another 20-minute delay, and you could hear people getting shitty on the plane. And then they said, look, we're going to have to fly back to Canberra because we're not going to have enough fuel, and it doesn't look like the storm's going to pass anytime soon. So we're going to have to go to Canberra, we're going to have to land, we're going to have to fill up, and then we'll fly back to Melbourne. So you can hear people like getting agitated and swearing and whatever on the plane. But, you sit back and you just go, well, that sucks, but, what can you do? So anyway, we're halfway to Canberra, and then we had another announcement saying Canberra Airport is full because all these planes are flying to Canberra to do the same thing that we're doing. So instead, we're going to fly back to Sydney and land in Sydney so we can refuel. So we're pretty much going back exactly where we were coming from. And so everyone's getting shitty again, and then we finally land in Sydney, and thinking that we can just sit on the plane and wait, they make us all get off the plane and stand around the gate and wait, and we wait and wait and wait, and people are getting more and more agitated. And there was announcements, and they're saying, look, we can only do what we can do. The storm hasn't cleared yet, and there's a lot of traffic. We have to wait for our queue. There was planes before ours that were delayed already, so we have to sort of try and keep it in order. And eventually they just said, look, unfortunately, just due to timing, we have to cancel tonight's flight. We don't have another scheduled flight that we can put everybody on just because of the number of people that are already trying to get to Melbourne. And you should have seen everyone. They were going off, people getting really shitty, and they were going off at this ground staff, and there was some guy that was just going, what are you going to do about it? I've got a Bucks night that I'm trying to get to. You're ruining my night, and blah, 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 and I want compensation, the usual opportunist or over-entitled douchebag. And, the ground staff, you have to feel sorry for them because customer service sucks in general anyway, and it's a hard thing to deal with the general public, and especially when there's a testing time where people are getting challenged. You got to commend it to them and just pay a lot of respect to what they have to put up with and try and keep their cool through it. But for us, it was quite stressful because we had a show that night, and by this stage, I think it was like 6 or 7 p.m. at night, or maybe about 6-ish or something like that. So suddenly we thought, well, that's it, we're not making it down. So there was no other Virgin flights. And then luckily we went up to back up to the check-in area, and we went to Jetstar, the other airline, competing airline, just to see if they had any flights, and luckily they did. And we were able to purchase new flights, which cost us a fair bit of money, and but it guaranteed us a flight to Melbourne. We got a taxi. The taxi took us straight to the venue, and we got there within like 20 minutes before we had to jump on stage. It was just perfect timing, and it was a crazy storm. I think the venue itself had flooding, and luckily the show still went ahead, and it was a crazy afternoon, evening, but we still managed to make it down there. But I think even if we couldn't, there's only so much you can do, and there's only so much cursing that you can make, and you can only get so shitty with it because it's all outside of your control, and it's nobody's fault. In that case, it was just Mother Nature. What do you do? There's just nothing you can do. So I always remember that particular moment where people were just totally unreasonable and just treated the ground staff like shit, like they were just plebs and like they were criminals even to a degree. It was just these people were getting so offended and entitled that they were just causing grief for the people at Virgin. So it was a real shame just to see douchebag humans just showing their true colours. So that's a big thing for me, and I'm a sucker for it at times when I'm getting tested by ground staff. Sometimes when ground staff are not having a good day and they're a bit short, I tend to to take the bait sometimes and snap back or get a little bit smart and run my mouth. But usually that's 6 o'clock in the morning when I've had an all-nighter and probably still drunk, and the ground staff don't want to deal with me anyway. But I think the general rule, where possible, is you just don't abuse the staff. Don't be rude to them. Be cool. Be relaxed. And even when they are not in the best of moods, just rise above it, because they've got a shit job. There's nothing glamorous about being an attendant or working for an airline or working at an airport, I don't think. You're dealing with every person under the sun. You're dealing with a high volume of people every day. You're dealing with all sorts of scenarios and a lot of negativity, especially when things don't go to plan. And because it's such a high volume environment, a lot of people are anxious all the time and they're panicking, especially for people that don't fly often, because they don't understand the process. They don't understand where they need to be. They're always checking the time, and they're very easily irritated. So the ground staff have got a lot to deal with. So even those times where they are a bit short and rude, that's a challenge that I constantly have, where I have to rise above it. But as a general rule, overall, I think you just need to be as cool as you can with the ground staff, because they definitely got a hard job. And on the back of that, just be polite to everyone that works at the airport. You know, whether it be anyone that works for the airline, the security, anyone that works in the hospitality businesses at the airport. Once again, they're all dealing with a lot of people constantly flying in and out, and various backgrounds and personalities and whatever. And security notorious, I think, anywhere in the world of being quite ruthless or just very short and blunt, and they're dealing with a lot of stupidity just every minute of every day that they're there. And if you can try and be cool and prep yourself, like I said earlier, with going through security as an example, it just makes life a lot easier for yourself, but sometimes they will even show their appreciation as well. And it just makes the whole process smoother. It gets you through quicker. All these things get you through quicker. If you just have a bit more awareness about yourself and not be the center of attention, then you'll tend to get a better experience, and you won't be as stressed and overwhelmed and inconvenienced if you're able to keep calm and get through without any fuss. And I'll probably, on the back of that again, so I'll just keep going on the back of everything here, don't stand in the middle of the walkways with your luggage. So whether that be a check-in or the gate or wherever else, or in the aisle, just if you're going to stop, and this is anywhere. If you're in the city and you're walking around, or you're at a train station or wherever it might be, if you're walking, you need to stop to either check your phone or check a map or whatever it might be. Don't just stop in the middle of the thoroughfare. Don't just put your bags down and stop. Walk over to wherever a wall is, get away from the traffic, stop, and then work out what you need to do. I see so many people walking off escalators and stopping right at the bottom to put their bag down, or to put their bag down to pull that fucking handle out of their roller bag. Just keep carrying that bag off the escalator and walk off to the left or to the right, and then pull your handle out and then keep walking. That one irks me so bad, and it's just something that's common sense, and it's just having awareness of what you're doing, but what everybody else is doing around you as well. And that's just common courtesy. So just be more aware and mindful of people that are around you. And probably the last one, which is my last of my bonus ones, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, and this is one that it's not so much an annoying thing that I find, but something that I've experienced in the past. And it's something that I learnt my lesson almost the hard way, is that don't throw away your boarding pass. Don't throw away your boarding pass, especially if you've got the bag stickers on the back of your boarding pass. And even more, especially if you've got connecting flights somewhere, because if you lose that boarding pass, regardless of whether that boarding pass is needed for the next flight or not, you will be potentially fucked. I did it once when we were coming back from Europe a few years ago. I was a lucky guy that had all the baggage tags placed on the back of my boarding pass, and for whatever reason I misplaced it, and we had to get a connecting flight where we actually had to pull our bags off and then check them back in onto another flight. This was in, I think, Abu Dhabi, and I lost my ticket, so I couldn't find it at the time. The chick basically said she can't do anything without the baggage stickers. We made a big song and dance. We were on the phone trying to work out what to do. She told us if we weren't going to make our flights, and then you have to wait another day or so for the next available flight to Sydney. It was an extremely stressful moment, and then luckily, very lucky, because I was being probably not the most pleasant of people at that time, even though it was my fault. So a great example of what not to do. She got on the phone and managed to make a few phone calls, and they were lucky enough to locate all of our gear. So we weren't talking about a couple of bags. It was quite a number of items, and they were able to ensure that they got onto the correct flight, and and we were able to get to our gate just in time before the plane left. There was a lot of mad dashing and swearing and stress that was circulating around that moment, but that was all because I misplaced my boarding pass. The boarding pass that I didn't think I needed anymore, that had all the freaking bag tags on the back of it. Funnily enough, when I got home back to Sydney and I started going through my bag, I did find that boarding pass, and it was sitting in a pocket that was just one that I thought I'd put my hand through, but obviously didn't pull everything out as well as I could. So something that if I just probably spent a couple of extra seconds looking a bit better, I probably would have alleviated a lot of stress and swearing and whatnot at the time. So sorry guys for doing that, my fault. So anyway, that's a few things there, more so the top 5 of my don'ts at an airport. I'm sure there's a lot of other ones that are out there that people think of when they go to the airport, especially a lot of my friends that do a lot of frequent flying around the place. If you can think of any others, let me know. And I'm sure the ones that I've mentioned are ones that others can relate to as well. A lot of them, first world problems, but when you travel so often and you're around so many people, these little things start to show a lot more than they probably do if you only travel once or twice a year and you're more concerned about the excitement of going somewhere more so than the mechanics of how to get through each stage at the airport, which we tend to be these days. And we're definitely all about routine and trying to get through and minimise the amount of time that we're stuffing around at each stage, whether that be check-in, security, or at the gate. The second part of this podcast, while I've got a mic in front of me and creating content as you do, a lot of people ask me about my rig that I take on tour, and I thought this, on the whole topic of airports and traveling and bags and whatever, I thought this might be an opportunity just to touch base briefly on what my rig looks like and what I take with me on tour, because I guess in comparison to a lot of other touring musicians, probably quite a unique touring rig. Within our band, it's not, because we more or less all have the same rig, but it's definitely very cost-effective, very easy, user-friendly, and has minimal impact, minimal stress and labour involved to get this rig around the place. So my entire rig travels in my carry-on backpack. I've got a shitty black Kmart backpack, which I've noticed that quite a few other people from within the Australian metal scene have also bought this backpack, which I've had to be very careful that I don't mix them up and pick up the wrong bag at shows when we play together. But I've got this crappy backpack that I bought from Kmart, which I'm about to retire because it's definitely getting on its last legs. And in that backpack, I've got a number of things. So I've got my Line 6 bass pod that I've had for 6 or 7 years. I could not tell you the model number off the top of my head. I'm sure Tim, if he's listening to this, will know straight away without even looking it up. I don't have a row case for it, so what I do is I just wrap it up in a towel so it's nicely padded, and that sits in the bottom of my bag, usually on top of a pair of jeans or a pair of shorts, so it's just a little bit of extra padding on the base of the bag. After that, I have my head, my amplifier, which is a Gallagher-Kruger MB200. So it's just a little 200 watt bass head. This thing's tiny. It's like the size of a hard drive. And funnily enough, the row case that I put it in is not even a row case for it. It's an old hard drive Velcro clip soft case that Mark had a couple of them at home for whatever reason. So we ripped the bottom legs or knobs off the bottom of the head, and so it can slip straight into this little soft case. So it's literally 15 by 15 centimeters, very, very small. It's tiny. It does not look like it would do the job, but it packs a punch. So that with the Line 6 pod is a great little combo. And obviously when you go and play interstate or wherever, you just can utilize a local cabinet just to plug it all through. So they're together, and that's my rig in a nutshell. That sits in my backpack. Kilo-wise, that combined together, you're probably looking at about 5 kilos. So it's very, very light. I also just have my power adapter that is also my bag. All my leads that I use, patch leads and actual guitar leads and speak-on cable, power cables, I have them all wrapped up in my guitar case. Couple of reasons: it's just less shit in my backpack. It also takes the weight out of my backpack, so it's less that I have to carry onto the plane. It does add weight to my check-in luggage, but luckily when you fly with Virgin in Australia, you do get a musician's allowance if you're a songwriter through APRA, so I can afford to have that little bit of leniency with putting the extra cables into my guitar case, which is great. So majority of the cables all sit in my case. Sometimes I'll have my wireless system in my backpack because it's extremely light, or I'll just chuck that into my guitar case as well. For anyone who is interested, it's a Line 6 Relay G30, which I have only had for about 12 months, I think, and it's been quite good. It's the best wireless I've ever had, and I've had a few over the years, and this is the first one where it doesn't have any of those flimsy antennas hanging off the top of the receiver or the transmitter. So it's definitely a lot more durable, and it can be thrown around a bit more, and it's very, very tiny. It's probably the size of like a wallet, roughly about the size of a wallet. So it's extremely small, can sit in the side pockets of my carry-on bag, or it sits in my actual guitar case itself. Very, very easy, very simple setup, and haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. And I know a few other people who've picked up that system since. Mark actually uses it as well as myself. Yeah, highly recommended if anyone is looking to get a wireless unit, especially for club-based shows. I'm not sure about sort of the largest scale stuff and what sort of range, but I'm sure it'd be more than sufficient enough, depending on what other devices you've also got running at the same time. And you know, that's probably the big thing, is just to keep in mind what other units and channels are running at the same time, which can get quite messy. But for a normal setup with two or three guitars running wireless and maybe a mic, then it's more than sufficient. These G30s have 6 channels, I believe, so you do have a little bit of flexibility. It's not anything crazy, but it definitely gets the job done for the majority of the shows out there and for most musicians, so it's quite good. Other little silly things that I have in my bag: up until recently, I would have the tour itinerary. So every tour, thanks to Dan, who was our old manager, he used to have a template tour itinerary that he always put together when we went away for shows, that just outlined when we all needed to be at the airport, all the flight details, where we had to be, where we're going, addresses, contact numbers, times as far as sound checks, line checks, load-ins, set times, etc. It was all in the itinerary to a particular format, and we've more or less kept that for the last almost 10 years. So I'm the one that puts together them every time we go away for shows, and I used to print them off, but now I just keep them on my phone along with what used to be printouts for hire cars or hotels or other transport or whatever it might be. But that more or less all now sits on my phone, apart from a couple of odd things that I'm not used to, that I'm not sure whether they'll accept something off my phone. I keep little silly things like black texters, felt pens, for a number of reasons, and it's not so much that I've always got a pen to sign stuff, because I'm such an egomaniac, but they're good to have on hand, especially when I'm setting up merchandise and I've run out of signs or don't have anything left. I can get some paper and write out prices, or write some stupid stuff, or write a stupid sign or whatever. It's good for set lists as well, in case we don't print off any set lists for a particular run of shows. They're just good to have on hand. It's like an extra tool there just to get you out of trouble if you get stuck on anything. There's nothing worse than being somewhere and needing to write a set list, and then all you've got is a biro, like a pen. You just end up having to write over it a million times just to make it bold enough that you can read it while you're on stage. So the black texter or Nico or felt pen or whatever you call it, I usually have a couple of them in my bag just to get me out of trouble in those circumstances. Also have a packet of alkaline AA batteries. These are for my wireless, but I also have them on hand just in case something else is needed. I also keep a bunch of extras in there because Mark always forgets to get his own, and on the odd occasion maybe Tim might need one as well. So it's just good to have some extra ones there and not have to worry about scrambling to find a convenience store to buy batteries for wirelesses or whatever else we decide that we need to chuck batteries into. So I always ensure that I try and keep a few of them. They say not to put batteries in your backpack on carry-on, but I've never had an issue with it. So until otherwise, I just keep doing it. What else do I have? I've got Dettol hand gel, a great little thing to have when you're running around, especially using a lot of public restrooms where there's no soap. For whatever reason, I cannot understand how a public restroom can't have a $2 container of soap, little pump thing in there. But for whatever reason, people are assholes and they don't give a shit about hygiene, and they make sure people don't put, especially in pubs and venues, for whatever reason, it's just, they're tight asses and they can't spend $2 on hygiene to look after the people that are paying money to use their venue. But also, sometimes at airports as well, for whatever reason, the dispenser's broken or has run out, and you just have to sort of wash your hands with water. And the Dettol stuff is a godsend because it's just so many germs around, and sometimes you should just been carrying gear, you get that sweat and the shit off the handles of the equipment and whatever it might be. So the Dettol stuff can be quite good. I've just got general pens, biros and whatnot, just in case I have to write anything down or just feel like, I don't know, writing something. I've got just generic flyers and business cards that for the band and for the podcast and all that, which I always just keep a few in my bag just in case I strike up a conversation with somebody in transit somewhere where I normally wouldn't have all my stuff on hand. So it's good to have that. I used to carry a few promo CDs as well when we had some available, but they're all gone now. But the flyer and the business card are quite good. It's just a little memento just to pass on to somebody if you've had a good conversation, and just something that they can look into further if they feel the need to later on. Always carry 4 or 5 magazines and probably a book as well. Magazines are usually, I don't know, something like World of Knowledge or Nat Geo or Australian Geographic or New Scientist, Time. I don't know, something that's relatively interesting and informative, and then whatever book I'm currently reading at that time. If it's something that's really thick and a hardcover, then I won't bother. I'll just grab a smaller book that I haven't started yet to read, but I've got like a pile of 40 books that I haven't even got through yet, so there's always more than enough reading material. But always bring 4 or 5 magazines because Mark usually gets into them and reads them on the plane as well, so always catering for the other guys, especially when on those longer flights, just to keep everyone occupied. What else do I have? I've got wet wipes. They don't usually come in handy too much unless you're doing more of a longer run of shows, and you just can't get to a shower. It's just something just to keep you relatively fresh until you can get to the next spot where you can actually properly clean yourself. Especially for me, I just get so oily, so the wet wipes are quite good just to take the edge off and make you feel half human. What else do I have? Probably the 2 final things I can think of off the top of my head. I think it's called a Signet. I think that's the brand. I probably completely butchered that, but it's a battery phone charger. So it's just this battery brick, rechargeable battery, and you can get them from JB. I think they retail for about, the one I've got to 11,000 milliamps. So it's quite tank. You can get a lot of charges out of it. I reckon you could probably get several full charges out of this brick without recharging the brick itself. It's heavy, but it's not ginormous. It's not overly heavy. So it's probably, I don't know, a kilo maybe, but it's an absolute godsend. I used it in the States and it was the best, especially when I just didn't have time to stop and plug into an outlet or just couldn't find an outlet. It was just perfect for that. So I take that with me everywhere now. It's really, really good. The only downside to it is that it takes a long time to recharge. So you definitely have to plug it in and just leave it overnight just to give it a really, really good charge. But as far as charging your phone, the phone can charge relatively quickly from the battery itself. So it's definitely highly recommended. They can be a little bit expensive depending on the size that you get from JB. But if you do know anyone that works for JB or you work for JB yourself, then the discount is quite significant. So definitely make friends or sweet talk one of your mates that works for JB because they'll get a great employee discount. I think it'll go from somewhere like $80 down to about $30. Highly, highly recommended to do that if you can get away with it. And the last thing, which is a bit of a joke really because I've never used it, is I've got a gym membership for Anytime Fitness, which for people that aren't in Australia, it's just a 24-hour gym that you can just access. Well, no shit, you can access it 24 hours a day. Duh. I've just got a little access swipe card thing and I always have it in my bag just in case I'm in the vicinity of a gym and I've got idle time, which has never happened, and it probably never will happen. And I like to think that there'll be this opportunity where I'll have time to waste and I won't know what to do, and there will just happen to be one of these gyms across the road or just around the corner, and I'll be able to go there and work out, which, good luck with that actually happening. But I live in hope, and it's in my bag anyway. So it's like the old Boy Scout thing. It's better to be prepared than feel sorry for yourself later on. So they're the main things in my bag. There's usually other little shitty things in there or tiny things. Like I usually keep a few loose picks in there just in case I lose the other ones that are in my case or in my wallet or whatever it might be. And then, I don't know, it's just other rubbish that sits in my bag that has probably just accumulated over the months that I haven't bothered to clean out properly. Probably one thing that someone might be able to argue this point or at least challenge it. One thing that I don't put in my bag, which I've had grief with in the past and I've just learnt not to bother taking the risk, is gaff tape. Now, anyone that is a musician or works in the music industry as far as live entertainment goes, everyone knows how valuable gaff is. Gaff's not cheap to buy, so you're usually paying like, I don't know, $15 a roll for this stuff. It's great. It fixes almost everything. And it's just an absolute necessity to have as a touring musician or as someone who's road crew or anything of the sort. And I've unfortunately had rolls of this stuff confiscated off me because it's gone through security in my carry-on and they won't let me take it onto the plane because, well, I guess it's probably a weapon or something that can be used to restrain people with, whatever. So I learnt my lesson from that, and ever since I just pack the gaff into whatever check-in luggage it is, whether it's inside my guitar case itself or it's sitting in another bag, merch bag or whatever it might be, just because it's just not worth it. Not when you're paying $15 odd for a roll of gaff. This stuff's gold and you really have to keep an eye on it even when you're at shows because the stuff just gets picked up by anybody and disappears very quickly. It's fantastic stuff, and anybody who plays in a band or tours or is road crew or works in a venue definitely understands the gold that is a roll of gaff tape. So anyway, that's enough of me crapping on. I just thought I'd give you a little bit of an insight as to what my rig looks like, and then I guess the other shit that I carry around in my backpack. Overall, it's relatively light, and it definitely keeps under the weight limits that the airlines ask for with carry-on. So it's very, very non-intrusive and minimal effort, minimal stress. It's all on my back. And even after a show when I might be strapped for time, I have to get stuff off the stage really quickly or we have to load out very quickly, I can literally just pick it all up and I can shove it into the backpack. While it's not the best method and it's probably not the best thing as far as longevity of the equipment, it's great that I can just pick it all up in one heap, chuck it all in the bag and then get back to the hotel or wherever we're going and where I've got a little bit more space and time. Then I can unload it, wrap it all up properly, wrap up all the leads properly and then pack it up the way that it should be. But it's just great that I can pretty much pick up my entire rig in my arms and you can all go into one backpack and you're good to go. There's just so many people out there that still take massive guitar heads with them. They're taking these big rigs, these valve or these tube amps or whatever it is. And I understand it to a degree. I understand, these things cost a lot of money and they produce a great sound. And for a lot of people, it's their trademark sound. But a lot of these pods that you get these days, you can download this stuff. And while, it's not authentic, it's not the true thing, it just takes away so much stress and so much worry, and it just looks ridiculous when you rock up to the airport and you've just got, especially those bands that take like several guitars with them on tour. I mean, unless you're playing bigger venues where you're averaging probably 1,000 capacity venues a night where your touring budget's a little bit bigger and you can justify different tunings and different guitars during your set and whatever, and you've got an actual proper rig, rack mount system and whatever, then you can get away with that stuff a bit more. But if you're just a normal club touring act, you don't need that shit. None of that stuff's necessary. There was even one band that we played with in Perth, who I won't name, but anybody who's listening who may be vaguely connected with the show that we played, or maybe just know the show that we played earlier in the year in Perth, will be able to connect the dots. But this band travelled from the East Coast over and they brought like entire rack mount systems with them with these giant guitars, and it was just out of control. And look, they had a relatively good sound, but it was just totally unnecessary. And they would have paid an absolute fortune to lug all that stuff across the country just for a half-hour set that they played. And and they didn't seem to be terribly impressed with being there anyway. So maybe it was because they were lugging too much crap with them. Yeah. So it's just a different perspective, a different approach that we take. Mark and Tim use exactly the same setup. They've got their own guitar pods, Line 6 pods. They've got Gallien-Kruger heads, and Tim's got a different wireless system. He's got an older one that I think he needs to replace soon, but Mark's got the same wireless system as I've got. So we're more or less completely emulated across the three of us, all got the same setup. It's just so easy. We can download the sounds that we need. We can get a consistent sound no matter what. It's all DI'd, so we don't even need to mic up cabs or any bullshit like that. Our sound's completely controlled on stage. You know, we're not at the mercy of some shithouse Marshall head that someone keeps trying to convince us that there's a clean channel that we can play through. You know, we just bring our own head. We've got our sound. We know what we're going to get, and it's just that consistent trademark that we're known for. So it's definitely a major benefit that we've been able to make for ourselves over the last few years of touring. So anyway, that's it. Enough rambling on. I've got a few more recordings doing this week, as I mentioned before. And so hopefully, if all goes to plan, I'll have another episode out next week. As always, jump onto the Facebook page, like all the posts, just do that general sort of activity on social medias just so the stuff gets shown to more people. Jump on iTunes, do a rating, write a one-liner, just say how amazing everything is. And yeah, just spread the word. I mean, don't spread the word about this episode because it's just rubbish. And if you're still listening to this, then just find something better to do. But, you know, all the other episodes that I've done to date, if there are particular things that are interesting that you might think that a mate or somebody you know might think is something of interest, please pass it along. I definitely want to spread this out to as many people as possible, and there's a lot of cool things on its way as well in the future. So anyway, enough rambling. Until next week, cheers and speak soon. Good evening. Well, it's evening here. I don't know what time you're going to be listening to this. Maybe in the morning, afternoon, whatever. I don't know what episode this is going to be of the Anti-Social Podcast. I don't know why I'm even saying what the name of the podcast is, because if you're listening to it, then I assume you know what you're listening to. So anyway, whatever. I'm going off on a tangent already. I'm going to start doing a bunch of in-between episodes, or at least that's the plan at the moment. I'm sure it'll change, but I want to try and up the ante as far as the amount of content I'm pushing out. And at the moment, I'm just doing an episode a week. Most weeks it's going to be, a guest on. But I figured if I can probably double it and do one guest and then one of just me talking shit on whatever topic I can think of, you know, whether it be serious or not, more than likely the latter. You know, might just keep the thing moving and get more momentum. And I'll try and make that one a bit more interactive as well, which brings me to what this one's all about. So this is what I'm going to start doing a Q&A, which some of the more famous people out there that have got podcasts and whatnot do these Q&As and get hundreds and hundreds of questions from fans and whatnot. I didn't do that. I just got bored this morning and asked me a question on Facebook, and then I got about 70 comments that were 99% ridiculous. So ridiculous questions in there, and some of them are pretty funny. Some of them just don't even make sense and just useless questions. But I figured I'll answer them all and turn into a podcast. Why not? So it's Friday night, and I'm actually sitting in my car in some back street in an industrial area in Wetherill Park, which is like in Western Sydney. The reason being is Jess, my fiance, is at a work Christmas party tonight in Parramatta, and I took her there, and I'm going to pick her up later on tonight, and I'm staying at her parents' place out this way, and I really wanted to do this podcast, and I just didn't want to do it back at her place just because of noise and just the potential of interruptions, and, you know, just being a bit too self-conscious about my volume of voice and what I say and whatnot. So I just figured, fuck it, I'll just sit in the car. And so funnily enough, due to the amount of questions, and I really wanted to say who asked the question and where they were from, and some of the people that left a question on my status on Facebook, I couldn't work out where they were from. So I figured, oh well, let's let's be smart about this. Let's write out all the questions first and where they're from. So I'm reading it all from the one thing, and I'm not flicking through my phone through multiple pages trying to work out where people are from, and I lose the flow of the whole thing. But for the most part, I just wasted about an hour sitting in McDonald's car park, drinking a coffee and writing it out and just ruining the muscles in my hand. And I haven't got good handwriting on the best of days anyway, so this is just absolute chicken scratch. But I did it, and now instead of sitting in the car park at McDonald's, I figured I'd go around the corner into like this dark industrial area where I thought I wouldn't look as suspicious. But now I've just realised that because I've written it all down, I need to turn the light on my car. So here I am sitting in my car holding a freaking microphone because I just happen to have all my recording stuff with me anyway. So I thought, well, I'll use that instead of using like the headphones off my iPhone. I may as well, record it with a semi-decent quality. So I'm sitting here with the car light on, which will eventually turn off. So I'll have to start the car back up again soon as I'm going through this episode. And I'm sure if anyone comes down the street or anybody who's in the darkness looks over, he's going to see this dude sitting in the car talking to himself and talking into a microphone. And it's probably going to look a little bit suspicious and odd. So I might just lock the doors just in case a crazy comes past. And because, I'm in Western Sydney, you got to watch your back. And we'll get stuck into it. I'm just trying to think of what else I was going to say. Oh, and just on the topic of Macca's, because I was just thinking about it then, fuck McDonald's. Fuck those guys. They are fucking assholes. And I'll tell you why. And it's all my fault, but I'm going to blame them. I got off Macca's for like a year. Probably longer. Probably a year and a half, 18 months. And I just stopped eating it. And I stopped eating a lot of takeaway, just junk food in general. I didn't really sort of make a conscious decision at the time to stop, but a good friend of mine, Andrew Craig, who was actually previously on the podcast, made a vow a few years back to stop eating a particular fast food chain. And each year he's added to the list. And I'm not sure how he's going now, but this was a few years ago, four or so years ago, and I know that he knocked a few of them off the list, like Macca's, KFC, and there's a couple of others, and I don't think he's caved, not that I know of, or he may have caved a couple of times overall, but he's doing pretty well. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. And so anyway, I did really well for like 18 months. Didn't consciously try and last as long as I could, but just didn't have the urge and just developed a really good habit of not having an urge to go there. And then just out of the blue, I just started just pulling into McDonald's on the way to rehearsals because I was starved for time and needed food, because I'd usually be I wouldn't have time to go home on the way to rehearsal and get some food or whatever, and so it's just easier to pull into a drive-through. And I just grab like a wrap or something like that instead of a greasy burger. But then it just slowly escalated from there, and fast forward, and I'm stumbling into McDonald's at whatever time, 1-2 o'clock in the morning in Melbourne the other weekend, on a Monday morning at 2 a.m, buying 40 McNuggets and then, not even finishing them, just spewing them up everywhere anyway. But the real problem now is that, probably over the last few months, I've discovered the world of coffee, which I vowed to never dive into the dark realms of caffeine. But unfortunately, I've been exposed to it, and now, like most people, I just drink it all the time. And I mainly drink long blacks, but Jess drinks these soy mochas, which sounds really fruity, but I just drink them because she gave me one once and it tasted pretty good, so I just don't mess with the formula. So I feel really pansy asking for it every time, but fuck it, it tastes good. So because they're from Macca's, and to be honest, in the cafe, the coffee's there, not that I'm a coffee connoisseur or anything like that, but they taste pretty good. And so I just go there all the time now, and fuck, I just, each week, multiple times a week, I'm in that drive-through buying, a mocha, and I gotta calm down. I really gotta fucking calm down with this stuff. So fuck you, Macca's, for just luring me back in with your shit, and I'm going off on a tangent, and it's all my fault anyway, so, it's probably just fuck me for just being a weak bastard. Anyway, moving forward, I'm not going to do any fake sponsors or anything like that. And you know the usual drill with all my websites and everything like that. If you just search for Andy Dowling on Twitter, Facebook is Andy Dowling Official, website's andysocial.net. You'll know it anyway. But get on all those things. Find me on iTunes, rate, review, help me make something of this podcast and make it bigger and better each time. So, moving along, enough talking shit. Let's talk about some more shit and get into these questions because they are just absolutely amazing. And I'm sure that by the end of this episode, you're going to be thanking me for just filling your mind full of drivel. By the way, I just had a sip of my soy mocha then. Okay, first off, oh, fuck. So the car light just went off, so let me just start the car. By the way, if anyone's curious as to what car I'm driving a Volkswagen Jetta diesel. Say what you want, but this car fucking rocks. It's a Highline, by the way. I think the diesel variant's a Highline anyway. So, whatever. Anyway, enough of that. Okay, first question. Michael from Melbourne. Oh, and by the way, I'm not putting anyone's surnames in there. I'm sure no one cares considering all your personal information's all over social media, but I'm just playing it safe and being Mr. Cool Dude and just keeping surnames out of it. Michael from Melbourne asked, how are you? At the moment, I'm pretty good, I think. I'm perky, and I kind of feel like I need to go to the toilet, which, fuck, I'm going off on a tangent already. I don't know if anyone else has this feeling, but when you go to the toilet, or when you need to go to the toilet, does anybody else have that feeling where you think about needing to go to the toilet, that you need to pee, but you physically don't feel it yet? So your bladder's not telling you, it's your mind. So your mind's saying, do you need to pee yet? It's sort of like it's checking in. But no shit, within probably a minute of you thinking about it, then your bladder kicks in. And it just happens all the time. And I thought about it before when I was getting my my soy mocha. And I thought, oh man, I should really go out and just go for a leak. But I didn't do that. And I have the slightest of tingles at the moment down in my nether regions, but hopefully it will hold out for the remainder of this podcast because I have a lot of questions and I'm already talking shit and wasting time. So overall, yeah, great. Feeling perky and obviously talking a lot and having a fantastic and entertaining Friday night. So thank you, Michael, for asking. Next question is Zach from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the US of A. Zach runs a heavy metal Monison radio station. It's like a college radio thing, and I believe he plays a bunch of Lord stuff on this, so thanks Zach for that. I met him at Prog Power USA and blah blah blah. Zach asked why I'm asking questions. Well, you know now, so I'm not going to explain it, so moving along. Next one is from Eljan the Long from Brisbane. He's written, who's the better drummer, Andy or Mork? Well, I would say it's probably Mork, because Mork has this beatbox drumming thing that he does with his mouth all the time. It's like a tick, and it's something like and he always does it. I don't think he even knows he does it half the time, and it's fucking irritating. But so I think because of that, he's probably a better drummer. But I think I've only got behind a drum kit once or twice anyway, so I think my sense of rhythm in general is pretty shit, even though I play bass. Moving along, James from Evansville, Indiana in the US asked me, did you fart? No. I no doubt would have farted many times today. I don't know whether it would have hit the 3 figures or not, but what did I have to eat today? I had sushi and I had some nuts. I had an omelette for breakfast that had lentils and spinach in it. That's courtesy of Tim Ferriss. And then I had some sort of kebab stick shit for dinner, which is all right. So, everything's churning and tooting along there. So, yeah, I have farted today, but I didn't just fart then or when you wrote that question earlier today. Next up is Jacob from Brisbane. Jacob actually went to high school with, so thanks for chiming in. He's asked me, He-Man or Skeletor? I might have to go with He-Man, only because of that parody video that's on YouTube where whatever the song is, I can't remember. And actually, I'm kind of glad that I can't remember what the song is, because it gets stuck in my head. But everyone will know what that song is, and I'll chuck the video on the Facebook. On the Facebook. I really am in Western Sydney. On Facebook later on. Next is Damien from Melbourne. Damien wrote with single letters, "Why are you an faggot, Andy?" I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest, and there's probably not an answer that I can give that's really going to justify or give justice to that question, because I guess it's just so profound. I don't know why I am an faggot, but I guess I is what I is. Next is Michael from Humpty Doo in the Northern Territory in Australia. And yes, there is a place called Humpty Doo. No shit. I don't know what the background is behind the name. I probably should have looked that up, actually, because no doubt there would be an interesting story around it. But anyway, didn't do it. Question is, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? I have no idea. Next is Toshin Obu from Nerima, Tokyo, Japan. I terribly apologise for my shitty pronunciation of your name, because I'm just hopeless at reading names in general. He's written, "When are you coming?" I assume he means Japan. When am I coming to Japan? No plans as of yet. I want to come back to Japan ASAP, whether it be with the band or just a holiday again. I took Jess over, a couple of years ago now, or almost 2 years ago, and she's just been on my back ever since to go back there. So I really, really miss Japan. I've been there, I can't remember, 6 times, and it's just, it really is. And not that I've done a lot of traveling over the last few years. I mean, I have, but I haven't. There's a lot of places I've never been, but Japan's just is my favorite place. There's nowhere that comes close to it. I've never experienced a place that just draws me back, and I get excited when I think about that country. It's the best. Anyway, so hopefully soon. No plans as of yet with the band. We've had some difficulties with, we've lost our record label in Japan, and we're going to have to reevaluate how we approach the market there, because you really do need label support if you really want to make a good dent over there. So we'll probably wait until we've got the next album all recorded and ready, and then start shopping that one, and hopefully be able to pick up a good label, a label with some money, can actually do something, and then on the back of that, we'll be able to come over and do some shows again. But all of us in the band miss the place dearly, so hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. Damien from Melbourne again. He said, "If that was you on the floor, you'd wear the helmet as well, wouldn't you?" And he's inserted a picture of this guy wearing a PVC suit with a hose coming out of his arse that's attached to a gas mask that's been worn by another person who's obviously, inhaling the fumes that are coming through the hose. So, and I haven't got the picture in front of me, but I can't remember him wearing a helmet. Somehow I was distracted by that hose coming out of the guy's ass. But hey, if I was in that position, I was really, obviously I would want to be there if I had the gas mask on with the hose attached to that guy's ass. So if I really wanted to be there, then yeah, why not? I guess I'd throw a helmet into the mix as well. Danny from Sydney just asked me butter chicken with a question mark. My answer to that is sure, no worries. Belinda from Sydney says, "I have a serious one, something I've been contemplating myself. Would you rather have the things that you want in life to fall into place and be given to you, or have the satisfaction of achieving them through hard work?" Well, I think it would, to me, probably pretty obvious that it would be the latter. Not that I've ever had anything handed to me, but I guess when I compare myself to somebody who has absolutely nothing, I guess I have had a lot handed to me as far as health and education and a place to live and, supportive parents and great family and great friends and everything. And you definitely, at times you do appreciate it, but a lot of other times you tend to not appreciate it at all, because you take it for granted. So I think if you have the opportunity to work hard for something and then achieve something, it just makes it so much sweeter, and you can really, really appreciate it then. So I think overall I'd rather work hard and achieve through that than just have something handed to me. It's like, here's a good example of that. When I was a kid, and basketball cards were all the rage in the 90s. And I didn't have a job. I was like, I don't know, 7, 8 years old or whatever. And, I didn't live in China, so I didn't have a job. And, sorry, that was a horrible stereotype, but I'll throw it in there anyway. I didn't have any money. I get a little bit of pocket money from my parents and do odd chores around the house and whatever. And, a packet of basketball cards could be anywhere from between $4 and, say, $6 a packet, depending on the type of card company. And, you wouldn't get a lot of money, so you had to be really careful about what you bought, when you bought it, and you saved it. You bought a lot of the time you buy one pack of cards and that's it. And you would open that packet up really slowly. Then you'd carefully take them out and you'd be really careful not to push the cards out of place, like they're in a pack together, because you didn't want to reveal the cards that were underneath. You wanted to sort of pull each card from the top and discover it as you're... Anyway, I'm sure I was probably the only one. What an idiot. But anyway, you just savored the moment. You really absorbed every card. You had a look at each one. You turned it back over. You looked at the statistics on the back. Depending on the card, there might have been a little did you know fact on the back of it. And it was awesome. It was really cool. And you just really appreciate it. And then when there was like an insert card, like a rare card, you'd be like freaking out. Then you'd open up your folder and you have your card sleeves in there and you'd have it all spaced out with all the empty ones of the cards that you're missing. And then you'd carefully put them into the places that you were missing the cards in the set. So you'd add to your set. And it was just this slow, satisfying process. And it was great. But then over the years, when I started to get a bit more money, or it came to Christmas and I'd been saving up a lot of money, and then I discovered that I could buy whole boxes of cards. And so the way that it worked is that you would buy a packet of cards, and then in a box there would be, I think, 24 packets of cards, I think. So the box of cards would be like, I don't know, $100 or whatever it is. I mean, you do the math, I'm shit at math. And so when I bought my first box of cards, I couldn't believe it. I was just... I couldn't think straight. I was just having this spastic moment where I just couldn't grasp the concept of how many cards and how many surprises I had within these packets. And to start off with, I did the same thing. Just open one up, slowly open them up, slowly open them up. But then after a while, by the time I got to like packet 10, I was just ripping these things open and just spewing the cards across the table, and I was quickly putting them into the card sleeves and then moving on to the next one. Before I knew it, the box was gone. And that's when I realised that I didn't appreciate it whatsoever. I appreciated the excitement at the start and the anticipation and those first few packets of cards, but after that I just didn't. And then the other example I've got is when I used to buy CDs. When I had pocket money or I just started working like a part-time job, I had very little money, so you would only buy 1 or 2 CDs at the most. Then you would go home, you'd open the booklet up, you'd read all the lyrics, you'd read the liner notes, you'd sit there and you'd absorb the music, and if the CD kind of sucked a bit, you would just continue to listen to it over and over because you'd spent that amount of money on it. You wanted to make sure that you liked it. But then when you started to work full time and get a lot more money coming in, that's when you start buying like 10 CDs at a time or going crazy, or you might find like a massive sale or something like that and you just go to town and spend a shitload of money. And then the CDs just pile up. You don't read the liner notes anymore. You don't read the lyrics. You chuck those CDs in, you listen to them once and you chuck them in your shelf, or now you rip them onto your laptop or put them onto your iPod or your iPhone or whatever, and you just don't appreciate it. So that's taking it for granted. And I guess just going back to it all, I think just working hard and just chipping away at things and just appreciating each thing as it comes for what it is definitely far more beneficial than just being given something or given something in abundance where you can't really truly appreciate it. I don't know if that completely lines up with the whole question, but whatever. And then my light just went off again, so let me turn the car on. All right. Okay, next is Mark from Ballarat. Oh, by the way, if I don't mention a country name, then just assume they're from Australia. This is just for the guys from overseas who are listening in as well. So if I don't mention a country, it's Australia. Mark from Ballarat asked my all-time best NBA player. Okay, so all-time best, that's going to have to be Michael Jordan. You could have the debate about Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or whatever, but at this point in time, it's Michael Jordan. And maybe by the time LeBron James retires, however many years' time, he may have surpassed and may have done more. But I don't know. I can't see that happening. I think LeBron may break a lot more records than Jordan as far as like statistics and whatnot goes, but I think all the legacy that Jordan created and the hype and, you know, all the championships and all that sort of stuff, as well as his statistics, I just don't think anyone will ever touch him. If you interpret it best as far as like my favorite, I don't know. I don't really have a favorite these days. When I was a kid, my favorite NBA player was Kevin Johnson of the Phoenix Suns. I have no idea why, but I just thought he was awesome, and I just collected all of his cards. While my friend down the road was a big Sean Kemp fan, so whenever we bought packets of cards and we found each other's cards, we'd trade them, which was it was silly because we really worked like a currency, and Sean Kemp cards were worth like double the value of Kevin Johnson cards, but whatever. I just wanted the Kevin Johnson cards. Anyway, moving along. Mick from Sydney. By the way, Mick of Mick G Photography. He's asked, favourite venue to play in Australia and why? Favourite venue to play in Australia? I haven't even thought about this this answer. I really should have thought about this a bit more. It's difficult because I'm getting them mixed up because to me, my favourite venues to play were more so because of the shows themselves and the people that were there and the energy and whatever of the room, more so than just the mechanics of the venue, like the size and the stage and the setup and backstage and all that sort of stuff. I haven't really when I think along those lines, then I struggle a little bit. I'm just trying to think of where and what. I mean, there's been so many great venues that I've played because they're social hubs and there's a lot of energy there, and we've had fantastic shows like the old Empire Hotel in Sydney, in Annandale, that's still there, but it's no longer a live venue. Rosie's in Brisbane, that's no longer there. East Brunswick Hotel in Melbourne, that's no longer there. Fowler's, which I don't know if it's closed yet, but it more or less is no longer there. Fowler's in Adelaide, I should say. So all the venues that don't exist anymore. But it's not so much because they had something in particular. It was just more so what was happening at the time and the crowds that were going there and the energy in the rooms. And then, because of that, the performances that we had. You could play one venue and the sound could be absolutely amazing. The setup could be fantastic. And you could go back there in 6 months' time and it'd be the worst gig ever. Shit sound, shit staff or whatever. And there's never anything consistent with any of these venues. So it is a hard one to answer. But there's been a lot of great venues and shows that we've played over the years, and I probably should have thought about that one a little bit more before I attempted to answer it. But I'm going to move along. Craig from Sydney has written, and I better sing this, "Who cries for the children?" And my answer is, I do. Next is Bob from Sydney. He's written, when did you start playing bass and when did you join Dungeon? Oh, half serious question there. When did I start playing bass? I started playing bass when, I don't know for sure, but probably when I was 20. Long story short, played guitar since I was about 13, 14. And when I started to get playing with some guys from high school and whatever, but nothing really serious. And when I turned 18, I started playing with other people, but it really struggled to get into a band because everyone was a guitar player. Everyone wanted to be the guitar player in the band. So it was just really difficult to get together with people with any talent whatsoever. But I found that a lot of people needed bass players because no one wanted to play bass. So I just thought, fuck it, I want to play in a band more than I want to play guitar. So I just picked up bass. So I got a bass guitar from my mate Salty, Andrew Saltmarsh, who's the artist behind Toe Hider and used to run ozprog.com, and bought his a little Hartke practice amp and a BC Ridge. It's like a early 90s Warlock bass, which is just gigantic thing, and just played that for a while as I got started, and then obviously just changed over to ESP not too long after that and went from there. So now I'm 31, so about 11 years, and haven't improved whatsoever. When did I join Dungeon? Well, I didn't officially join Dungeon, so to speak. The end of 2005, or funnily enough, I got asked to join Dungeon at a certain point in 2005. I won't sort of go into too much detail on that one, but the band sort of pretty much broke up at the end of 2005, and so the plan changed, and the Lord the Lord idea came onto the table, and we went from there. I did play on the last Dungeon album, the final chapter, but didn't actually officially jump on stage as Dungeon, which in some ways kind of sucks, but hey, I'm not complaining overall. It's no complaints whatsoever. Moving along, Dennis from Melbourne. Dennis plays in the band Espionage, so give them a shot if you want to check them out. I think if you type in Espionage on Facebook, you'll probably get a million different accounts, but if you go to Google, type that in with Melbourne Metal or something like that, then you'll find them, and they're playing some pretty cool 80s heavy metal thrash stuff. And hang on, my phone's going off, so oh no, that's all right. Just silly alarms. So Dennis has asked, how would there not have been a what, when, why did you do that? So Dennis has been a funny guy. So I'll answer that with no idea. Next up, Tonchi from Brisbane. Tonchi will be my groomsman at my wedding next year. So I've done Tonchi for quite a few years. And Tonchi got married a few years back, and I was his best man for his wedding as well. Well, not as well, because he's groomsman for mine. And if anyone's curious as to who my best man is, it will be Mork. Tonchi has asked, will I win Lotto this weekend? So by the time Tonchi listens to this, he will know the answer himself, so I will not need to tell him, but let's just say the answer is no. Moving along, Craig from Sydney. Again, Craig has written, what you gonna do with all that junk inside your trunk? I don't know if that's from a song or not, but I don't know if there's a lot of junk in my trunk. I don't know if I just dug myself a hole there. Anyway, moving along. My good mate, Honda-san from Hiroshima in Japan. Honda-san is amazing. One of the coolest dudes ever. If you ever go to Hiroshima and you want to meet up with some metal fans and whatnot, let me know. And if Issei is around, he will definitely meet up and show you around. He's just one of the coolest guys out there. I know a few people that listen to the podcast have met Honda-san, and he's a party animal, but he's the nicest guy. He's just so cool. Anyway, and funny enough, his surname being Honda, he actually works for Mazda. I thought that was quite funny. I tried to crack a joke with him on that one, and yes, that's right, I'm turning my car back on to get the light on. And I think he got it. He laughed, but I don't know if he actually truly got it, but anyway, I'm sure he did. Both Japanese brands. Anyway, he's written, what day of August is the ceremony? Well, I assume that he's referring to that ceremony that's happening in August next year, which will be I was going to say my wedding, but I'm not the only one getting married. How do you say that? Because Jess isn't here, I can't say our wedding, because Jess isn't doing the podcast, so I guess I'll just say my wedding for the time being. Anyway, you know what I mean. Honda-san, it is the 26th of August 2016, a Friday. So if you want to come over, let me know. You've got an invite. Come over and get drunk. Next up is Mary from Melbourne. Mary's written, would you rather have the arms of a gorilla or the legs of a gazelle? Well, I wear skinny jeans anyway, just because I've got chicken legs. So maybe the gazelle's better, and then I can run really fast. Gorilla, well, to be honest, there's enough gorillas out there already if you go to a gym or just walk through a Westfield. So I think I wouldn't look any different if I had gorilla arms anyway. So I might go with the gazelle and get some endurance and some speed and still hide them in my in my skinny jeans. Next up is Brendan from Leeton. If no one knows where Leeton is in rural New South Wales in the middle of fucking nowhere. Brendan's written, what is your favourite Lord or Dungeon song to play live? You know what? Actually, I have a love-hate relationship with this song, but I really, really enjoy playing Footsteps in the Sand. I love playing the bass lines in that song. A lot of it sort of plays around the guitar riff. It follows the main guitar riff, but during the verses, it sort of goes off and does its own thing. It's an interesting song to play, but the hate part of it is that just sometimes I just struggle to fucking sing that chorus, and I don't know if it's just a case that I'm slowly growing up. At 31, my balls might be finally starting to drop, but sometimes I nail it, sometimes it's just, fuck yeah, it's awesome, and then other times I'm like, and just struggle. So yeah, a love-hate relationship with that song, but that one's it's just got great energy, it's got a bit of crowd interaction, it's a song that's been around for the last 10 years, and well, in our set it's been around for the last 10 years, but it's been around longer in general, and you know, a lot of people dig it. So that one, off the top of my head. There's probably a bunch of other songs. Actually, I like playing Against the Wind. The other guys hate playing that song, but I actually really love playing that song. I love singing the chorus. Legend of Humor, I don't enjoy the start of the song. I think that riff, I just don't like playing that riff. It's just too plotty. But the second part of that song is just like, fuck yeah, awesome time. Especially right at the end where we're singing that my honor part is really cool. And I should probably think of another song off the top of my head. No, I'm not, because I'm wasting time. Next up is Warren from Muswellbrook, and I always stumble over that name, even though it's written, or it's spelt Muswellbrok. So I go Muswellbrook. I think they say Muswellbrook. Anyway, that's in New South Wales, here in Australia. Warren has asked, when cutting your toenails, do you go straight for the big toe or leave him till last? I definitely go for the big toe first. I start at the big toe and I work my way down to the small toe. Is that what you call it? Do you call it the small toe? I know you call it your pinky finger, but what do you call your small toe? Just small toe. Anyway, yeah, definitely start the big one and work my way down to the little one. Miralee from Sydney has written, bored at work, ? No, I was actually very busy today, and I just did some great time management and managed to get this fantastic Facebook status out in the midst of going to the toilet. Next, Dennis from Melbourne, again from Espionage. Make sure you check him out. He has written, why is cheese so expensive when there are so many cows? Well, fuck, just have my soy mocha then. Good question. Maybe you're asking the wrong person. Maybe you need to make a bit of noise in other directions. Maybe start a Facebook page, Facebook group, maybe a change.org petition to get answers. Maybe petition at the front of your local Woolworths, your local independent supermarket. Maybe you should get a tattoo asking that question, forever asking that question. Maybe it's a question you'll never get an answer for. Maybe it's just something that it just is. Maybe if you dig too deeply, you'll regret it. Maybe you'll uncover something dark, and you might not be able to turn back after that. Anyway, a few things to think about. Ben from Mount Gambier. Ben plays for a band called Wounded Pig. I'll give you 3 guesses of what style of music they play. He's written... Oh, actually, he didn't write. He's put a picture of a children's book by P.D. Eastman that's entitled Are You My Mother? The answer to that is no, I'm not. And if I had a vagina, I would probably still say no as well. Very unlikely. But hey, if you're looking for a mother figure, I can definitely give it a shot. But I've got a feeling I'm going to disappoint and break your heart. Next up is Dallas from Brisbane. Dallas has asked, does Jesus Christ refer to this time of year as Christmas? Christmas with, as in, he's got a hyphen between it, Christmas, or me-mus? Ha ha ha. I have no idea. I've never met the guy, but if I was Jesus Christ, I would definitely call it me-mus. Absolutely. Orion from Marysville, Ohio in the US has written simply when in question mark. And the answer is too late. Next is Andrew from Taree in New South Wales, here in Australia. He's written, what's your current live bass rig? And then quickly after that, he's listened to my podcast that I put out, last night, as of recording this, where I actually go through what my live rig is. And he's written, never mind, I just listened to your episode 16. So if you want to know what that is, go back and listen to that episode, because I'm not going to repeat it again. Can't be bothered. Next is Damien from Melbourne. Again, his third question. This guy needs to fuck off. He's written, when are Lord touring with Manifesto? Probably never. Do I really want to open this one up? Yeah, fuck it, why not? if anyone wants to know what Manifesto is, Manifesto was a metal band from Adelaide. Won't go into too much details, but one of the gentlemen from the band sent me a document along with a few other people within the metal scene here in Australia that was a business proposal of a what would you call it? A metal brethren, or like a club, a gentleman's club, I should say. That's what I was looking for. But it was only for white heterosexual males only. And then there was other parts in this document. A lot of effort was put into it, I must admit. It also included having session musicians in every city in Australia, so this person could tour his music in every city without bringing a band with him. And pretty much the people that he was sending this business proposal with, he was insinuating that we would have to be, as part of being part of this gentleman's club, we would have to be the session musicians in each of these cities. I could totally be getting this wrong, but this is what I got from it, because I pretty much zoned out as soon as I saw heterosexual white males only allowed in the club. After that, I kind of glazed over everything else. And there was also talk about future long-term plans with, expanding the club. And there's also, I think, a concept of a heavy metal shopping centre as well, shopping mall. So this guy clearly lost the plot and was extremely loopy. I don't know whether I should use the word regrettably or justifiably, I may have made a comment about this document on Facebook, and it just exploded. I think there was about 1,000 comments on there or something like that, which it didn't do wonders for him, and a few other people that got the document as well chimed in and said a few comments. Yes, I'm turning the car back on and off again. So anyway, that's Manifesto, and no, look, well, I don't think Manifesto even exists anymore. I think the whole thing died pretty quickly. So no, I don't think Lord will be playing with Manifesto anytime soon from what I can see. But thanks for the third question, Damien. Really appreciate the enthusiasm. Next up is Jeff Rudd from Canberra. Jeff Rudd has said, I just put his last name. Sorry, Jeff. I'm not even going to edit that out. Sorry, mate. I'm sure you'll be fine. You're famous now, mate. Jeff's asked, how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I'm not even fucking answering that because it's not even original. And I don't even regret saying your last name because of that silly question. Next up. All right. Now I have to turn to another page in my little podcast notebook to get to the other questions. I've still got heaps left. So if you're zoning out by now, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm not giving in yet, and I'm sitting at about a 47-minute mark. And I'm still going. Next question is Glenn from Sydney. Glenn's written, do penguins have knees? Now, when I wrote this question out, I was actually going to Google this because I thought I would assume no, but, this might be my blonde hair seeping through my skull into my brain, but I don't fucking know. I assume they probably don't, but is this a trick question? I don't know. Google it. Next, Alan from Demarest in Georgia, USA. I probably completely messed up the name of that town. Alan's written, while at next year's Prog Power USA, who do you want to see the most? It's a hard question. I think for me, it's a really odd one because I never thought I'd say this, but I think Spock's Beard is a band that I do want to see. I haven't listened to Spock's Beard in years, and I really, really do like their stuff, but their music's so varied and there's so many different, not so much styles, but they just had different sounds for a lot of different releases and whatnot. So some stuff really clicked, other stuff didn't. But there's some fantastic songs that they've written over the years, and for whatever reason, they're on the bill with Us, Dragon Force, and Stream of Passion, and I think they're definitely the odd one out in that bill, but I am looking forward to watching them. I just think they're amazing musicians. I think that'll definitely be a highlight for me. Blind Guardian would be awesome. I've seen Blind Guardian a bunch of times, but that'll be cool to see him in that venue. I'm trying to think of like the Friday and Saturday nights off the top of my head. I've got no idea. There's just so many bands that are playing, and I'm really taking the easy way out here. So, but Spock's Beard is the first band that comes to mind. That's just such an interesting band and world class musicians, and a group of guys that are definitely definitely odd ones out at least on that Wednesday night show that we're on. But yeah, looking forward to them. Next up, where are we? Susan from Sydney has written, what was your most memorable gig? I've got heaps of different ones. Are there people walking around me for like talking into a microphone with the light on in a dark alley? We don't want that to happen, do we? Or maybe we do, because that would make things quite interesting. Oh, no, sure, it'll be fine. Fuck it. Memorable gig. I can't even talk tonight. I always keep going back to the same ones all the time. The first time we played in Hobart in Tasmania, we played this tiny little pub and packed it out. Shitter stage, tinier stage, crappy little PA. But man, it was just so good. The energy was amazing. People were psyched that there was a band coming down. There wasn't a lot of bands playing down in Tassie at the time. This was 2006, I believe. And it was just so cool. It was just a lot of fun. I'm just trying to think of other shows that have been memorable over the years that we've done. I don't know. Maybe this soy mocha is going to my head now. That's one that comes to my mind all the time. It was a very small gig, but it was just really cool. It was a lot of fun, great energy. It's one that I just have fond memories of. Anwar from Melbourne, Anwar from Metal Obsession. metalobsession.net. He put a picture up that says, how do you feel? Well, thanks for checking in. The tingle in my bladder is still there, and it is a little bit more noticeable than it was earlier on, but it's still well and truly manageable. So I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling okay. I'm a little bit spaced out. I think just because it's 10:15 at night and I'm sitting in a dark alley in Western Sydney. But hey, no, considering all, I'm feeling pretty good. And on that note, I'm going to have another sip of my soy mocha, which is starting to cool down, but still I'll drink it. Next up, Dave from Melbourne. Dave is a journo and writer for Full Throttle Rock, and is also a serial harasser of Triple M radio station in Melbourne. If anyone knows or gets that, they'll have a laugh at that. And if Dave listens to it, I'm sure you'll get a laugh out of it as well. Dave likes to harass Triple M radio because they don't play enough Australian content, and he's tried a few campaigns in the past, which I see float around on Facebook. And it's I thought I'd throw that one in for good measure. He's written, why are we here? Why are we here? I guess we need to find out who we refers to. Do we mean we as a collective human race? Do we mean we as in you and I? And if it's just you and I, then where's here? Considering you're there and I'm over here, unless you're here with me. But anyway, I'm trying to be funny and it's going off in the wrong direction. I've got no idea why we're here, mate. We just are, and I don't think you need to overthink it. Just move forward. Daniel from Krabi, I'm probably not even getting this right, in Thailand. I didn't get this one at all. He wrote, I'll tell no lies, ask me again. Ask you again? Ask me a question? What? Okay, next. Andrew from Sydney wrote, Andrew from Sydney, sorry, I have to remember what was put in on the Facebook thing because I've just got my notepad, but Andrew put a picture of a toilet door with the vacant thing that's half covered, which just says can't. So in other words, he can't ask me a question, but he does give in later on and ask me a couple more questions. Martin from Sydney. Martin is a photographer and reviewer of Amplify, also of Metal Obsession and Rebel Monster Media as well. So there's a few plugs. Martin's asked, would you prefer to perform 100 1-minute songs or one 100-minute song? If it was 100 1-minute songs, I'd probably guess that they would all be grind songs, which means I'd probably get AIDS very quickly or have a brain hemorrhage and die on stage. But then again, if I had one 100-minute song, it would be probably this overly pretentious prog song, which I'd probably still contract AIDS and die on stage as well. So it's probably the lesser of two evils, isn't it? I guess. I don't know. It's probably pretty much the same thing either way, isn't it? Unless actually no, I'll go with the first one with 1 year gap in between. So at least I'll have 100 years to do the 101-minute songs. Dave from Sydney has written, with the current... Well, this is actually a serious one. Okay, let's prepare for this one. Dave from Sydney has written, with the current state of the Australian rock music scene being at an all-time low... Okay, interesting. In terms of venues closing down on their doors to live music, with also the lack of commercial radio and punter support, with your years now of experience in the industry, what ideas might you have to improve it? So we might again one day see another golden era of live pub music from the 70s and to early 90s. Well, I wasn't around in the 70s to the early 90s, so I can only go by whatever people say and whatever video is lying around. I don't know. It's all perspective, and it depends on where you are. Yes, I'll turn my car on and off again. I don't know if the Australian rock music scene's really at an all-time low, to be honest. I look around, there's a lot of bands doing a lot of great things. There's a lot of bands getting a lot of success. Have a look at the ARIAs this year. Not that you'd put a lot of importance on the ARIAs, but fuck, there's a lot of great Australian rock and even metal bands now that are getting recognised. And, while, when it's not... I mean, well, no, a lot of bands are getting mainstream radio play as well. Maybe it's not the same as what it was in the 80s with some of the classic, Australian rock bands and whatnot. But I don't think it's at an all-time low, to be honest. I really don't. A lot of bands getting internationally recognised. While yes, there's a lot of venues that are closing down, there's still, I think, a healthy music scene. Considering, Dave, you're from Sydney, I can understand that your perception of the scene being at an all-time low would be very validated, pretty much validated, because Sydney sucks for live music in some cases, especially within the metal scene. I think in other circles it's a bit better, but it does depend on the band. And you know what? I mean, someone else has asked another question similar to this, so I'll save some of my answer for the other one as well. But while the Sydney music scene can suck at times, if you've got a really good quality band coming through, people come out. It's just that people just need to be a bit smarter here in Sydney and put on a higher volume of quality shows. And there's a lot of shit out there, and when you keep going to the same shitty shows at the same shitty venues with the same shitty setups with the crappy sound and people half-assing their performances, then that's a big reason why people stop coming out as well. You've only got so many music enthusiasts and people that are passionate about supporting music. Most people want to go out and have a good time, and if what it is at the moment is going out and standing in a room which is with bad sound, with volume that's way too loud, bands that haven't spent enough time in the rehearsal room, no stage show, no visuals, all those factors put in, and then on top of that, small lackluster crowds, then you probably wouldn't come back out again either. So there's a lot to it, and I'll answer a bit more later on. But ideas, I think it's up to the bands to be creative, break the mold, stop doing the same old thing, and really embrace the DIY approach. Don't rely on anything. Don't rely on commercial radio. Don't rely on people coming out and seeing you play. Just do your thing and do it the best that you can. Perfect your art, perfect your image, perfect your marketing. Take it seriously. Make it a business. You don't ruin your artistic integrity by making your band your business. It just means that you're serious and you really want to make something of it. And people will separate you from the other people and you'll become a professional act. So anyway, and from a punter point of view, stop living in the past. If you keep living in the past, you're never going to get back there. Keep moving forward, looking at new ways, new things to excite people. Look, live music's still there. It's just we need to find new ways of getting people in and getting people to enjoy it. And it may mean changing the entire format of how live music is, changing what live music is to people and what they experience. No more headline bands going on at fucking 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Having shows that finish at 11 o'clock at night or 11:30 at night. Having the headliner band going at 9:30, 10 o'clock. Having 3 bands on a bill instead of 5 or 6 or 10 or 15. I'd much rather go to a show with 3 high-quality bands or even 2 and have a DJ playing like classic metal or rock music for the rest of the night, but knowing that you're going to see 2 high-profile, awesome bands instead of sitting there for a grueling 12 hours watching 15 bands play crappy sets in a crappy venue with shit sound and a shit bar and just rubbish people around. It's all about quality over quantity. And I think we just need to change how people look at live music. But we just got to stop living in the past and stop complaining. Just got to move forward. You got to make changes. And if you really love what you do and you really love music and you really want to support it, then you need to get out there and do it, but do it for the right reasons. Don't just blindly do it to support just because there's a live band playing. Go out there and support the bands that actually work their asses off. Don't support the bands that are lazy, that don't release quality music. Don't just blindly support them just because, that's good on them for getting out there and playing live music. Fantastic if they're doing it, and everyone should get out there and play, but people need to earn a crowd. People need to earn respect. People need to earn a profile, and that only raises the bar, raises the standard of quality music. Don't go out there and blindly support music for the sake of it, because that's what destroys, a live scene. But anyway, I ranted on for way too long there. Cask from the Gold Coast wrote, have you ever tried to push LT out of the band so that you can get all the love and fame? Because let's face it, nobody wants the bassist. Well, look, if I could shred and sing like Tim, then maybe I could consider it. But I think Tim's got enough on his plate. I really don't want to do his job. And he tends to do it pretty well. So I'll stand back and just prance around on stage and drink a few too many beers and attempt to play my 4 strings on my bass. So I don't care if nobody wants the bassist. I'm happy to not get the love and sit in the background. Tim can be in the spotlight. That's okay with me. Matt from Sydney. Matt, formerly of the Sydney metal band Switchblade, if anyone's wondering. Matt's written, am I too late? The answer is yes, you are. Next is Anne from Melbourne. Anne's written, are you really the love child of Farnsey and Olivia? So that's John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John. No, I'm not. And I'm glad I'm not, because I probably wouldn't appreciate them as performers. They would probably just be daggy parents. So I'm glad to be a fanboy of Farnsey and not have him as my father. That's a little bit weird. Steve from Boston, Massachusetts in the US has said, what's your porn star name if you had to make one up? I have no idea. The first thing that came to my head was either Andy McAnal or Lover Lips. So neither are terribly flattering, but then again, I'm a porn star, so there you go. Next is Steve from Broken Hill. Steve wrote, when is the American dollar finally going to collapse? And when will be the new global trading currency? Or when will there be a new global trading currency, and how will it affect us? All right, so the American dollar will finally collapse on March 23rd, 2016. The new global trading currency will come into effect on September 1st, 2016. There is a bit of a gap there. Can't explain why. And how it would affect us? Well, I guess we're just going to have to go and change all our money over. Next is Luke from Brisbane. Luke wrote, when? Too late. Anne from Melbourne wrote, what's the name of Lord's drummer? I don't know if you're serious or being funny, but our current drummer is Adam Bark, and Adam's doing the shows for this year for us, and his last show with us is actually next weekend, December 19th in Newcastle at the Small Ballroom. Come along and have a great night with us and celebrate Adam's efforts for keeping us afloat for this year, because we love him a long time and are very happy for everything he's done for us. Next up is Anne from Melbourne. Again, third question, who wears the pants at home? I guess probably between Jess and I, we probably both equally wear it depending on the situation. She certainly puts me in my place, and at times I probably attempt to put pants on myself. So I'll say 50-50, but it's probably more an 80-20 in her favour. Tim from that band that I play in has pasted an image of a complex alleged physics question, but you know what? I didn't see a question mark in that alleged question, so I'm not answering it. So there you go, I win. Nick from Sydney wrote, who's your daddy and what does he do? Or, who's your daddy and what does he do? My dad works for Queensland Health, actually, and he's an auditor. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that answer. Courtney from Sale in Victoria, in Australia, has written, toilet roll, under or over? Now, it is over. It's over. It has to be over. It can't be under. I think I got that right. It's definitely over, and it has to be over. If I'm at someone's place and I can see it under, I'll flip it around. I'm an asshole. I'm rude. I'm being disrespectful in someone else's home, but it has to be over. End of story. And I'll just turn my car back on again and back off. Okay, where are we next? Wayne from Wollongong has written, what's your opinion on fabric softener? I don't use it, so I've got no opinion. Unnecessary. Tim from that band I play in again has written, this is a lengthy one, why won't this rash go away? Will I die? Why does it taste like an old carpet and pea soup mixed with beetroot juice? Would you like to try some on the tip of your pinky finger? And finally, why is ducks? Well, I think Tim's just totally abused this whole question request and has exceeded his quota. So I'm not even going to attempt to answer that. Actually, I will. Why won't this rash go away? Because you keep scratching it. Will I die? No, not yet. But if you keep scratching it, you will. Why does it taste like old carpet and pea soup mixed with beetroot juice? I can't think of anything funny to respond to that one. Not that the other ones were funny anyway. Would you like to try some on the tip of your pinky finger? No. And finally, why is ducks? I don't get it. Matt from Pequannock? Yeah, Pequannock. I think I got that right. In New Jersey, in the US. Who was the biggest asshole driver you wished you honked your horn at but didn't? Oh, I don't know. The first thing that came to mind is I remember driving on the motorway heading towards Brisbane Airport, I don't know, last year sometime, and there was a ute behind me that just decided that he wanted to be right up my ass and was trying to get around me, and I just kept driving the speed limit, and he was in I could see in the rear vision mirror that he was like screaming through his windshield at me, and I just raised my hand and did the reverse middle finger, and then he drove past me, half hanging out the window, throwing obscenities at me. So that was what I just thought of. But the horn wouldn't have really come into play for that. I think the reverse middle finger through the rear vision mirror was more than sufficient in that case. Lucas from Brisbane wrote, why? Answer is because I asked and because I want to, so there. Jessica, my fiance, has written, can you please bring me a coffee in bed tomorrow morning? Well, depending on what time you call me to come and pick you up from Parramatta tonight will determine when and more so when. Well, hang on, I can't even answer that question. Will determine if and when this can be fulfilled. So we'll just play that by ear. But at this point in time, I'll say yes, but I will not commit to that. Andrew from Sydney, that plays in Demon Pyre. Andrew wrote, why does shampoo smell so good yet taste so bad? And then he wrote underneath, so bad. Probably because it's not food. Yeah, so don't put it in your mouth, mate. Keep your mouth shut. Why have you got your mouth open when you're washing your hair? Is it like when people lean their head back and their mouth automatically opens? Is that what's happening? Are you washing your hair with your head tilted back? Maybe, well, I guess you are, because you're probably trying to keep the shampoo out of your eyes. And so your mouth automatically opens? That's probably it. I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. Tim, once again, from the band that I play in, his third question, and he's written, why won't Mummy wake up? She's on the floor and did a wee and she's cold and isn't waking up. Do you think I should eat the rest of the pills she had? Are they candy? He asked this question quite some time ago, so it's probably no use me answering this question because he's probably already made a decision. So I'd be quite curious to see what came of this. Yeah, let me know, Tim. Stephen from Sydney wrote, whatever happened to Blathudah? Blathudah, Blathudah. I haven't Googled that. I've got no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea if that's funny or not. Sorry. Dave from Sydney, Dave from Metal Evolution and organiser of the Steel Assassins Festival, has written, what's your favourite Dark Order song? None. Dave Stewart from Newcastle has written, sorry, let me go back. I don't have a favourite Dark Order song because I don't know any. That's it. Just don't make anything more than what that is. Dave from Newcastle wrote, can I have some free signed Lord merch, please? I'll get a piece of paper and sign that for you. Otherwise, support us and buy something from our store. Jimmy from Melbourne, who plays in the thrash band Mason, wrote, are you the voice and can you understand it? And he had a photo of him with John Farnham, which Farnsey looked extremely disgruntled or agitated. And then I made a comment saying that clearly John Farnham doesn't like thrash metal. And then Jimmy put up a second photo where Farnsey looked a little bit more cheerful. So all is well in the world again. Poiter from Sydney wrote, do you often sing or whistle just for fun? Not really. No, I used to sing a lot in the shower when I was a kid. A lot of 90s R&B. Maybe that's because I was heavily into basketball in the NBA. Maybe I wanted to be black. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. No, I don't really... I mean, unless I'm wasted and I'm out somewhere or, I don't generally just... I can't even whistle. I can only whistle by sucking in air. I can't whistle blowing air out. I can't do it. I physically cannot do it here. I can't do it. So I don't even bother. Gary from Melbourne, that's Gary from Screaming Symphony, wrote, why do I have to ask you a question? Well, you don't have to do anything because I didn't demand it. I just asked. So you don't have to do anything you don't want to, Gary. Don't feel the pressure. It's fine. It's completely fine. But you did ask me a question, so I do appreciate the contribution all the same. Alex from Ballarat wrote, why is my G-spot in my ass? Well, good question. I don't have an answer for it, but look, as long as it feels good, then don't question it. Then he's got a follow-up question. I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Because it's all in your head, and that's usually when most people start work, but it is all a mental thing, so don't be hating on Mondays. Mondays is just another day, same as Tuesday, same as Sunday, same as Thursday. It's just another day, so get over it. Troy from Louisville... And fuck, I'm just losing it tonight. I'm getting tired. In Kentucky, USA, he wrote, is it sexual harassment if a man tells a woman her hair smells good? No. But then he's got a follow-up question. What if he was a midget? Think about it. Maybe. Sean from Wodonga in Victoria, USA. Victoria, Australia. I am getting close, guys. I've almost finished these questions. There's another probably 10 left. 10. Who's your favourite international power metal band and why? I don't know. A lot of people seem to get surprised. I don't like a lot of power metal bands. Or I guess it depends on what your definition of power metal is. If it's like US 80s power metal, then yeah, okay, I like a lot of those bands. If you're talking about sort of fairy, pirate shirt, European power metal, not so much. But if we're going down that path more so than anything, which I'm guessing maybe you might be thinking more along those lines, probably, actually, there's a few. There's Labyrinth, but only like Return to Heaven Denied. That's just a killer album, ultra cheesy, but just for whatever reason, I picked up that album and listened to it at the right place, right time, and it just stuck. But definitely not the type of music I'd normally listen to. Sonata Arctica's first two albums are just killer, very cheesy, but awesome. After that, not so much. And Lost Horizons' first album as well. That is just stellar. That's just perfection from start to finish. Still very cheesy, but just killer songwriting. Really, really good. Highly recommended. That's an album that I've never actually bought on CD, and it's on my want list. I've still got to get it, so eventually I'll pull the wallet out and buy it. What's next? Tim again. His fourth question. Why does number 7 smell more purple than number 4 does? I think Tim got very bored this afternoon. I think Tim took those pills from earlier. I think he made that decision, so there you go. There's your answer in itself. You had no idea, Tim. Sorry. Just keep thinking about that one yourself. Andrew from Sydney wrote, how can the live music industry be repaired? I don't know if it really needs repairing, but I do know that you're in Sydney, and I guess there's a lot of repairing that can be done here. But, I go back to this whole thing again. There are still heaps of live venues in Sydney. For metal music, not so much, but that's not because these venues are refusing to put up metal gigs. It's just that we've got no consistent metal promoters in Sydney at all, or promoters that are willing to continue to play in lots of various and different places throughout Sydney. We tend to stick to the same places over and over and over again, and then wonder why people get over it and get tired of it, especially when the venues aren't crash hot already. But yeah, I go back to what I said earlier. It's all about supply and demand. I think artists, bands need to be a lot more proactive. They need to push a lot harder. They need to embrace the DIY approach, stop relying on other people to give them an opportunity or a push-up. They need to create their own image. They need to perfect their sound. They need to ensure that they are, whatever interpretation of world-class is, they need to be able to raise that bar and get the highest standard they possibly can. They need to put effort into their live shows when they do have the opportunity to play live. They need to make it a visual thing. They need to entertain. They just need to up the ante. And then that will attract punters. And I keep saying it, if there's a very buzzed band coming through town or a popular Sydney band, crowds still come out. There's still music fans here. It's just that music fans are just a little bit old and tired of going to the same crappy old venues with the same crappy bands that are half-assing and not putting a lot of effort in. And, I'm probably pissing off a lot of people going, man, that's not really supporting the scene. Well, you know what? Fuck blindly supporting the scene, as I said before. It's not about just going out there and supporting a band just because they're playing live. You support bands that put the effort in and really perfect their art, and don't support something if you don't like the music, So really, I think it comes down to punters, making the effort and supporting the bands that deserve the support, and bands really pulling their finger out and doing whatever they can to reach that next level, whatever that might be. And after that, venues will happily book bands. Venues will happily book quality acts. There are still venues in Sydney. Yeah, okay, there might not be as many as there were 5, 10, 15 years ago, but there's still plenty here. And all we need to do is ensure that we've got quality musicians, we've got quality bands, and that they continue to play, and in turn, the crowds will come. But you have to make it exciting, and you need to approach live music completely different to what you did before. So as I said before, stop doing 12-hour shows. Stop putting on more than 3 or 4 bands. If anything, change the format completely, mix it up, try something different, make each show an event. Don't just put on a live band and just put a Facebook event online. Do something different and make it special. Put something else on in conjunction with the show, like, I don't know, anything, whether it be DJs or special guests or, I don't know, food, like a free Barbie. And I know that all these things have been done in the past, but just try and do different things that make it special. Give the show an event name. Give it a theme. Change the format so the band's finish playing at 11 o'clock and then you've just got kick-ass metal music playing for the rest of the night, or karaoke. Fuck, do a fucking karaoke thing as part of the live music. Make the nights an event. Make it a social gathering. You got to make these things a place where people want to go and hang out. Yeah, okay, it's great to go and see a live band, but people go out to meet up with other people. You've got single dudes that go out, they want to go to wherever the chicks are. The chicks want to go somewhere which is cool. You need to cater for all audiences. So I think we need to stop living in the past and the whole romantic notion of, the old school pub rock band and the crowd's just coming out no matter what because there's nothing else to do. Sorry, the game's changed. It's a completely different playing field. You've got distractions left, right and centre, and it starts in your hand, and it's not your dick, it's your phone. You've got console games, you've got the internet, you've got Netflix, you've got all this shit. There's so many distractions and reasons why you don't need to go to a live show. So you need to think outside the box. You need to move ahead. You need to pioneer what live music's going to be in the future, and that's the only way it's going to improve. Just stop living in the past. Next, another Andrew from Sydney, different Andrew, is written, why does everybody call Farnsey the voice when he clearly sung that everyone else is your voice? I'm sure, I don't know if I wrote that right, but anyway, I get it. Well, somebody has got to let everybody else know they're the voice. And if everybody else is the voice, then he must be the voice as well, because he's part of everyone. So I guess if nobody says that somebody's the voice, then that means that nobody's the voice. So, someone has to step up, and clearly it's Farnsey. So he's just letting everybody know that they're the voice, and in turn he is as well, because he's part of the collective. John from Sydney wrote, who was your favourite vocalist from Dragon Force? No idea. I've got no idea. I don't know. I don't know. How many vocalists have they had? Not sure. I'll inspect at Prog Power next year, and I'll get back to you on that one. Benjamin from Adelaide wrote, what's an easy way of predicting the stopping distance of a moving object with air resistance as the only decelerating force? I have no idea. Rob from Melbourne wrote, what's your favourite Debbie Gibson song? I have no idea who Debbie... I can't even talk. I need to go to bed. Hurry up and call me Jess. What's your favourite Debbie Gibson song? No idea who she is. By all means, send me through a link if she's actually good, or if you're just being funny, send me a link anyway so I can have a laugh. Brendan from Sydney wrote, what is the meaning of life? And in brackets, don't say 42. The meaning of life is being happy. And finally, Andrew from Sydney wrote, if you could have dinner with 3 dead people, and in brackets, brought back to life, of course, who would they be and why? Sorry, I just had a car circling me, looking very suspicious. But mind you, I guess I look suspicious myself, drinking my soy mocha. 3 dead people. Oh, far out. I have no idea. I really have no idea. I'd have to think of relatives because, to me, I have no interest in famous dead people. Like, why? Like, I have no personal connection with them. Whatever conversation I would start with them, I don't know. It just doesn't seem, I don't know, it'd be from a fan perspective, wouldn't it? And I don't like the idea of it. So it'd be family members or, friends. It'd probably be, well, no, actually, there you go, 3 people. It'd probably be both my grandmothers and one of my grandfathers. So, and I did pick the other one because he's still alive. So maybe that's an easy way out, but I'd have plenty to talk to them about, and I think I'd have a much more fulfilling and satisfying conversation over dinner with them as opposed to a bunch of famous dead people. It's just got no interest to me whatsoever, regardless of the influence and creative and amazing things that they've done in the world. Yeah, family would definitely be top of the list. And that's it. That is the last question. I'm sure there's a few others that have popped up since I wrote this and started recording this, but I told everyone to stop asking me questions. But I did see that Tim tried to add another couple of questions in afterwards, and I told him just to calm down and stop asking. So there you go, Tim. I did answer a few of them for you anyway. So anyway, that's it. It's 10 to 11. I'm sitting in a back alley in Western Sydney recording a podcast. I've spent way too long doing this. I'm actually boiling in the car because I haven't got the aircon on, and I can see that the windows are starting to mist up. So I need to get this aircon going. That little tinkle in my bladder is starting to intensify, so I'll either go and find a dark bush somewhere or pull into a servo or something, or actually probably just go home. That might be a better idea. I should just go home. Yeah, good idea. All right, thanks for listening. If you got all the way through it, my God, you're so patient. And once again, thank you as always for supporting. Please continue to share the episodes around. If there's a particular episode that might spark the interest of a friend, please flick it through. Please introduce people. Podcasts. I think podcasting in Australia is still I think it's fairly new in general globally, but I think in Australia a lot of people they know of it but haven't really immersed themselves in it. So by all means, please try and introduce people to the world of podcasts, and there's heaps of great ones out there. Mine's certainly not the most entertaining, but I think it's off to a good start, and I do appreciate the support, and hopefully more people will be introduced to the whole podcast world, and mine in particular. Get on Facebook, like, share, comment, all that stuff, just to get activity going on the page. iTunes, rate and review. I don't know, just the usual stuff. All the band stuff. Lord.net.au, andysocial.net. The YouTube channel for Lord's got about 72 videos. There is going to be a podcast YouTube channel that's going to come soon. It's just way too much effort at the moment. Hopefully I can find someone who can actually put it together for me. I might outsource that shit. If anyone wants to do that for me, let me know. And that's it. Recorded a whole bunch of interviews this week, so I've got more guests coming up, heaps of stuff that'll take me into the new year. I've got a couple of crazy people that are keen, but I've had to reschedule to do the actual recordings in January, so I'm hoping that they do follow through with that, because especially one in particular, which is really cool. But lots of cool stuff, a lot more interesting people. I am slowly moving away, or not moving away, but dabbling in other non-music related guests. It'll still be heavily music related guests, but I'm starting to dabble into other areas as well, and it'll continue to evolve this podcast, and a lot more ranty stuff from me, and yeah, anyway, enough talking. Thanks so much, and see you next week, or later this week, or whenever the next episode is. See ya. You're ready, social. You're ready, social. Welcome to the Andy Social Podcast episode. What episode are we? We may be either 17 or 18. Thanks for tuning in, and anyone who's been a loyal listener up until now, thanks for continuing to tune in and spread the word. I've seen a few people sharing stuff around and letting other people know, a bit of referral action happening. So thank you. I have to work out a way of giving you guys some commission for referrals. And welcome to anyone who is listening for the first time. Hopefully this will be a good episode to be exposed to the podcast, get an idea of what it's all about, and hopefully go back and listen to the previous episodes and subscribe through iTunes or whatever else to be in touch and stay up to date with the new ones that are coming out. The reason why I'm not sure whether this is 17 or 18 is because I'm actually looking to increase the volume of podcasts that I do. I'm not sure how this is going to work because it's really going to come down to time available, which I'm pretty time poor at the moment, but I like the idea of doing 2 a week, but naturally to get 2 guests a week might be pushing it a little bit at this point in time anyway. So what I thought of doing is doing 1 guest a week and then just doing one where it's just me doing a topic of some sort, like the previous episode or earlier episode where I talked about airports and what's in my carry-on live rig bag that I take on tour. So I thought it might be interesting just to do some random episodes here and there of just, I don't know, whatever topic I can think of. Might be something interesting that I've seen, or maybe a little bit of insight, or maybe I might just do something silly. At least then from a content point of view and frequency, it may just continue to accelerate the podcast and open up more doors and get more people involved and listening and interacting and accelerate the growth of what this thing is. So that's the plan. We'll see how it all pans out. So by this stage of you listening to it, you would have already heard or at least been aware of episode 17, which was a Q&A one. I won't go into detail because you would have already listened to it or at least skipped it because it's a lengthy one. Now, this episode is not brought to you by a Japanese cartoon / character called Kobito Dukan or Kobito Dukan. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of trouble explaining this, but I had all sorts of trouble trying to track down the name written in Romaji in English characters because everything's written in Japanese, and it's extremely hard to actually get an idea of what this thing is called. But I discovered it a few years ago on one of my trips to Japan, and I was just going through a random store and found this very, very creepy set of cartoon characters. And when I was searching online just to get the name of it, there was a really good description. Someone's actually put a blog post up, and I'll link the blog post into the show notes so you can have a look, and we'll go from there. But I'll just read out really quickly what it says. When I was in Japan last summer, I noticed some really strange characters mixed in with the usual flurry of fluffy alpacas and Pokemon. These strange creatures had the outside skins of mushrooms, peaches, and plants, but on the inside they looked like old men in a perpetual state of shock. When I asked my friend about them, she replied that they were called Kobito Dukan, and they were really popular, especially among high school girls who think they're cute. So I won't keep going on that, but they're extremely disturbing looking characters, and as they say, they do look like plants. I would call them little plant people, but their faces look like old men. It's really, really disturbing. But the pictures themselves, I've got a deck of playing cards, which is going to be my little fake sponsor for this episode, and the images on the playing cards, and I'll take a photo of this to chuck on Facebook, but there's like just some really, really odd pictures being depicted. One in particular is a young boy with his back to you, his back showing, I should say, with his pants pulled down so you can see his bum crack, and he's peeing right on top of the head of one of these little characters who's just standing there copping it. So he's more or less getting a golden shower. It's got a bit of Japanese written underneath it. I've got no idea what it says, but it is slightly disturbing. So I bought this pack of cards because they were cheap, and I just thought it'd be a novelty just to show people back at home. But I also bought a DVD while I was over there. I think it was probably like $10 or whatever. And I watched it, and naturally, I had no idea what was going on and came out of it none the wiser. It's definitely it's typical Japanese, really. It's very odd, unusual, and a little bit disturbing. So I'll take a photo of all this and chuck it up for a laugh. If you've seen it before, yeah, let me know, because up until a few years ago when I went there, I'd never seen it before, and it's like a lot of things in Japan. It's just Japan only. You'll never see this mentioned anywhere else. You'll never see it's hardly ever written in English characters. It's just something that's, I think, very much isolated for the Japanese market only. So I'll chuck a bunch of pictures and links up there so you can check it out. So this episode is not brought to you by my Kibito Dukan playing cards with disturbing images printed on them. Okay, moving along. The usual, I haven't mentioned it for a few episodes, but as I said a while back, with the band, I'm offering a 10% discount forever. If you're listening to this podcast, just to say thank you for supporting and tuning in. If you ever want to buy anything from our online store, which is lord.net.au/store, and we've got t-shirts, CDs, we've got drink holders, we've got hip flasks. I can't even remember what else is on there, but there's heaps of stuff. There's also some CDs from other bands on there. One of Tim's side projects, Blackened Angels, on there. There's some Indian metal CDs on there, funnily enough, which we've just added to the store, which is really cool. And I'm hoping that we can extend with some other band stock over the months to come. But yeah, get on there if you ever want to buy anything. Chuck in the code AndySocial, one word, and you'll get 10% off the entire order. No limitations on that whatsoever. And it's probably a good code to keep in handy when it comes time for the next release or next new merch product that goes out for sale. So yeah, that's there for you guys. It's up to you whether you want to pass it around to others. I like to just keep it exclusive to this. I'm not even going to mention it anywhere else. It's just for people that are listening to the podcast. So just a way of saying thank you. And I'll try and find other things along the way as the podcast gets bigger and better. Little exclusive things for you guys, whether it be giveaways or discounts or whatever it might be. I just want to, it's just my way of making this a bit of a community and making it a bit more interactive and just, I guess, sharing the love, so to speak, just making sure that I'm returning the favor for what you guys are doing for me and helping support this. And I'll continue to try and do things to give back as well. And try and make this whole podcast thing a lot more interactive and very much like a posse of people that we can all band together and contribute things and interact along the way. But that's all down the track. Okay, moving forward, enough crapping on. This episode features a gentleman by the name of Rigel Walshe. Hopefully I got his surname right. I'm pretty much going to mispronounce everything in this intro, so apologies in advance, but Walsh has got an E on the end, so I don't know whether it's Walshe. I'm pretty sure it's just Walsh. Now, for people that might know Rigel is the frontman of the Auckland, New Zealand death metal band Dawn of Azazel, or Azazel. So there's another pronunciation issue there. I'm sure Rigel's had a million different variations of the band name, but that's how I've always attempted to say it. Long-standing band, been around for a long time, great reputation in Australia and New Zealand. Done a lot of great shows over the years, and has had some great success. Over the years, and they've got a new album out called The Tides of The Tides of Damocles. So there you go, third pronunciation issue there. Definitely check it out. I'll put the links in the show notes, but you need to check out this album artwork. It is absolutely spectacular. It is some of the best album artwork I've ever seen. I've still got to pick up the album, but the artwork is just top notch. It is so good. I might be talking it up. Don't get your expectations up too high, but I think it's some of the best artwork I've seen in a long, long time. So I'll put links there so people can check it out. And if you do like what you hear online, definitely support Rigel and the band and pick up a copy of the latest album. I'm really looking forward to getting around to picking it up, along with a million other things that I've been meaning to spend money on. We talk a little bit about the band and around rebalancing the band and prioritizing the band and different outlooks and how that changes over the years as the band and the members all sort of change and grow and whatnot. And we're definitely, as far as Lord's concerned, go through similar, or have been, and continue to go through similar transitions as to what Rigel and the guys have done with their band as well. So it's some interesting stuff around that. So I think even if you're not in a band itself yourself, I think you'll still find it fascinating and probably be able to relate to a few things when it just comes to a passion in general. And sometimes your focus and the amount of time that you put into something over the years, as life changes, circumstances change, your focus gets realigned and you have to review everything as you go and you try and find a way to continue the passion, but make sure that life fits into that mold better as time moves on. So anyway, heaps of interesting stuff there. The other thing we talk about, and we spend quite a bit of time on, and was one of the main reasons why I wanted to speak to Rigel, is that for the last few years he's been doing a lot of workshops and keynote speeches and whatnot, and he's really trying to develop his own brand I could really stuff this up here, but as a keynote speaker, as a public speaker, attending a lot of workshops and doing conferences and whatnot. And he's in the process of developing his current product, which is called Conflict is Good. And he goes into depth and explains a lot about it. At the time of recording this intro, I believe he is just finishing off the final touches of his blog. So I'm hoping that when this goes live in a few days' time, that Rigel will have all those links there. I've given him a bit of warning, so hopefully he'll be ready to go. But I really want you guys to check it out because it is quite interesting and very, very different to your stereotypical occupations for heavy metal warriors. So. But yeah, the product itself that he's developing is something that he hopes he can promote through the business world, the corporate world, and help a lot of people and develop and improve on skills. And the Conflict is Good is definitely a grabbing title and sparks some interest. So I think he should do quite well. But so we go into a lot about that, get an understanding of what he's been doing, where the direction is, what he wants to try and do, his focus, what his priorities are at the moment, how he juggles it all. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. So hopefully you get something out of it. And as always with everybody that is on the podcast, reach out and say hi to Rigel and just and if you find anything of interest, please hit him up and let him know that you enjoyed the podcast if you did, and and pass it along to other people as well. If you might find that there might be something within this episode that a friend or a family member or whoever else might find interesting, make mention in conversation and see if you can tap someone else into the podcast world. It's definitely one of the best things that I've done as far as a listener goes, and hopefully I can help bring a few more people over into the realm of podcasting. Anyway, so without any further rambling, here's Rigel. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers.
Hey man, how you going?
Good evening. Very well, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Clear enough and all that kind of shit?
Yeah, sounds all right. Sounds good. Awesome, man. Well, so I think probably the main reason for selecting you to get on this episode was more so for what you're doing now, more so than the band. But I did listen to you do there's a podcast that you did with the Clan the Throne guys a few months ago, and you're talking about how there's a bit of a different approach to how you look at the band and how the band functions and the goals that you guys set for the band now as opposed to probably 5, 10, 15 years ago. So that was quite fascinating. And then seeing what you're doing now with, which I don't really know exactly what it is, but you're doing a lot of leadership sort of workshops and a lot of, is it your own thing or you're working through a contractor or something?
So I'm doing my own business, which is like kind of running workshops and that kind of stuff. But I've just pretty much since July, really, just been working hard out, getting my own kind of brand and also getting the speaking side of things going as well. So I've been doing workshops and stuff for about 3 years now, but it's getting the other side of it up and going, and as I said, branding and the concept for my own kind of thing, which is called Conflict is Good, which I'm just about to let the rest of the world kind of know about. I'm thinking probably in the next month or so.
The types of things that you're doing at the moment is something that I'm just beginning to get my head around and look at doing things down the track over the coming months and years, as far as branding and self-branding goes, and finding ways to, not just from a revenue point of view, but, working for yourself, but also making a bit of a difference and having impact on other people as well. And that seems to be just getting a gist of what you're doing at the moment that kind of is ticking those boxes in a way.
Yeah.
What's the basis around this? Is it Conflict is Good? Is that what you mentioned?
Yeah, that's the name of the kind of brand which I've come up with for the stuff I'm doing, which is speaking, coaching, and training primarily. Yeah.
And is that for the corporate world, or is it a bit more general?
It's initially where I'm thinking about starting. I mean, the thing is, like, really what I'm doing with that, I mean, if I was to give the elevator pitch for it, it's teaching people how conflict, chaos, disruption, adversity, uncertainty are really your best friends and trusted allies. So if where I'm starting, I mean, the obvious one, what I'm kind of doing already is the workshop sort of thing, and that's what I'm right now at this very moment getting there and pitching. But the end goal, what I really want to focus on, and these kind of go hand in glove with each other, those three things. But it's more the speaking side of stuff because I mean it pays better. I enjoy it more. But a lot of people who are professional speakers out there do a workshop sort of thing out of it. I mean, you look at obviously quite an extreme end of the spectrum, but someone like say Tony Robbins. His business model is, it's the kind of speaking is what he's known for, but his big model is he'll get a bunch of people away for 3 days, like for an intensive when they're, it's almost like a 10, 12-hour day for 3 days where it's just full immersion and, make a ton of money charging a lot for, an intensive 3-day thing as opposed to a one-off here or there. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And workshops, is something that you can package in with your speaking. But the speaking stuff is where I really want to focus, and that's what I'm working on, kind of drawing out at the moment.
It's the keynote speaking circuit, or even, I don't even know if you'd call it an industry itself, but I've been quite fascinated with it over the last 6 to 12 months, and people that are starting to tap into that whole spectrum. It's something that I've been quite fascinated with, listening and seeing other people talk, and it's all about perspective and getting new ideas and new ways of thinking and whatnot, regardless of whatever the topic or the purpose of the talk is. And I have definitely seen examples of, and you mentioned Tony Robbins, but even like on a smaller local level, and seeing how successful a lot of these guys are, and you're definitely inspiring people, and that's why people want to pay. They want to be inspired and be taught something that's probably not taught in their current role or from education or whatnot. So it's quite fascinating. It's something I've just only piqued my interest in the last few months.
It's a good look at. I mean, like, there's a lot of correlation between professional speaking and being in a band, and that, it's a similar skill set to what you do and the nature of your work. But, I mean, money-wise, obviously it pays a fuckload better than being in a band. But it's also a thing of, if you're taking a corporate audience, for example, and you're someone that can deliver, and as you said, like Tony Robbins is a very extreme example. There's a lot of people around the world who have a, successful business doing this sort of stuff. But I mean, if you take a corporate audience and you've got a CEO that's trying to hammer home the importance of, let's say trust and improve communication or some general topic like that. Now you can ramble on about it, and that's going to be dealing with all the cultural issues and all the, politics that go with your organization. Where if you're an outside individual who can come in and, energize the audience and have that kind of almost infotainment angle to what you're doing, and you're probably saying the same shit that they've been trying to tell their company for however many years or months, and they don't listen because it's that kind of internal politics. But if you can come in and, you've got an audience of 100 people and you can get that message home, I mean, if you do that by a head sort of thing, companies will easily pay, in the hundreds. And, if you're talking the extreme end of the spectrum, thousands per head for that sort of thing, if you're delivering it to the audience that matters, and you're going to be able to deliver that result, quantify that. So there's there's some mega money in it, and it's if you've got the personality for it and you're prepared to put on the hard sort of work, and I think a lot of people that do music are of that inclination anyway. It's a really good work to get into. So for me, it's just more, because how you differentiate yourself. I mean, there's again, using Tony Robbins as an example, there's a million people that can get up there and say that in sort of generic, motivational messages, and how you differentiate yourself, your product, which is really kind of you, and how you use your story, but also your ability to articulate that in a really comprehensive, tight manner, is, kind of really your product, if you like. So for me, it's been really a process of drilling down on what that is, which is a lot harder than you think it is when you first do it. I'll tell you that. I thought it would be hard at all. I thought it maybe take me a month, but I've been working this for about 4.5, 5 months now, and I'm finally at the point where I've got the brand together. I'm just developing, my kind of minimum product, if you like, which is, kind of a half an hour, 40-minute talk. And from there on is the point now where I start very heavily into pumping out blog posts, videos, vlogs, stuff like that. I haven't specifically decided how I'm going to package it yet, but it's now the point where I'm going to start developing that content and telling the world, and everyone, hey, this is what I'm doing, and come check it out, But it's been more like developing that base and really getting your head in the right space and all your ducks in a row before you go out there. And like with a band, you don't just jump on stage and start playing. You got to write your songs. You got to get the tight, and you've got to rehearse it all, and you've got to get some sort of a solid concept before you go out there and jump on a stage. Otherwise, you look like a fucking idiot. So it's been really getting to that stage where in band terms, I have a 30-minute or 25-minute set worth of material, and maybe the equivalent of a T-shirt, if you know what I mean, or and a logo and all those basic things, where people can see you and decide what you're about, and then you start, pumping it out there and developing it as you go.
Is it, you mentioned before, like, initial perception of it that you'd be able to slap something together somewhat quickly. What was out of all those things that you mentioned, there's quite, there's obviously a lot more to the process of building content and getting that vision and which direction you want to go. But was there anything in particular that was a surprise or a challenge to get to where you are now, to about to take that next step?
Probably the biggest one that I struggle with is when I started, and I don't know if it's just a New Zealand thing, but I think I suspect to be the same in Australia, is that, even though I'm in a band and I'm not the sort of person that has big qualms about going out and singing my own praises when need to be, was that I really didn't want to make this about me. I wanted to make it about the concept or the ethos that I'm selling. But with speaking, and more and more it's been realization. I'd heard this before, but I just it never quite hit home the way it has in the last couple of months of, your story is what you're selling, and so it is that thing of making it very much about me and my personal experiences and telling my story, which feels real hokey, you know what I mean? It's definitely not the way I wanted to do it, of get out, give it the impression everyone wants to listen to me ramble about myself for half an hour. But I think it is, if you do it well and you make it in a way that's serving the audience and not just ranting on about how fucking cool you are or whatever it is, then it's something that people appreciate. Everyone likes to listen to a story and people rambling on about their experiences, and as long as you can make it something that is serving other people, I think it works out really well. So, to try and put your life story in 30 minutes and give it that direction about what it's really about, that is definitely a lot harder than you might think it is, when you really get down to it. When I first started, I had a very different angle of the way that I've kind of written this first keynote, what it's really about now. But it's good because you can see, once you've fleshed it out, you can see how it branches out to all these other areas which I hadn't initially considered, and that's kind of your brand, because that's who you are and that's what you got to sell. So, if you're trying to make it about this external idea, not only are you kind of doing yourself a disservice, but it lacks that kind of conviction and gravitas. So it's really, kind of a journey of self-discovery. Sounds fucking hokey as, but, it's that thing about, you really understand what you're about and what you're trying to say, which, believe it or not, is actually nowhere near as apparent at the end of the process like this as you might think it'd be at the start.
Yeah, I think it's like when I listen to somebody else speaking, you obviously, if you're going to be convinced by anything that they say, there has to be that genuine feeling coming from the speaker, and you want to have that connection where you sort of, not so much that you feel that the speaker's speaking directly to you, but that you get gravitated towards that person. There's something about that person that you like, and it could be something very basic, such as mannerisms and whatnot. But I mean, the story and anything that's a bit personal usually sort of solidifies those connections, and that's why people will continue to come back again, or they start passing on the information onto other people, or they come back for like a subscription type basis, depending on what you're rolling out. But
coming back to bands again, there's a lot of bands out there that you and I probably know that aren't actually that good, but people like them because they identify with the ethos or the attitude or the spirit, the whole what they represent beyond the music itself, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And, anyone that plays in a band, is aware that, you're not just selling the music, you're selling like a feeling or however you want to package whatever that complete thing is, you know what I mean? And so it's like that too, in that, anyone can get up there and read a book or, say to check this out, but it's to be able to create a brand and like a tribe, they talk about it in those kind of terms, just a unified thing where people say, oh, I like this dude and I identify with them. And, generally by telling your story and connecting with people, that's how we connect with our friends and that kind of stuff, is you meet them at a party and, you think, I like the cut of this guy's jib. It's the same way, and so you get people on board with your story and what you do, and that's how you kind of get the buy-in to the message that you're telling, you know what I mean? And if it's authentic, then there's nothing salesy about it. I get where this guy's coming from and it makes sense to me, so of course, what he's talking about is going to click. So.
And the other thing you mentioned before about blogs and vlogs, video logs and blogs and whatever they're called. Obviously looking at developing all different ranges of content to attract a listener base or viewership to gravitate towards your brand. Is that with the purpose of creating different revenue streams down the track? I mean, I know I keep hearing the things get reiterated all the time about developing free content and building that interest and bringing people towards your brand. And then you've got that opportunity to be able to, sell a service or a product or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Is that something that, I mean, I don't, you don't have to go into nitty gritties of what your plan is moving forward, but is that sort of the concept what you're, as far as developing all these different types of content for your brand to pass that message out?
It depends. I mean, like I haven't, I think it is very dangerous at this stage, and get this thing off the ground to be focusing too much on too many different ideas,
Yeah.
So what I do basically is the focus of what I talk about and what I train people is that, conflict, adversity, randomness, unpredictability, they're all things that you cannot change, you cannot control. And I think we have this aversion in society generally where we see conflict and those things as bad, when really they're very natural, very normal, and you're much better placed to learn to work with them than to try and avoid them. For example, if we talk about this in the context of organizational culture and risk, we're very bad at planning for the uncertain, and people have this attitude of thinking that, well, if I engage all this risk planning and I think about all these possibilities, I can create this plan where we're never going to make a mistake and things are going to run perfectly. That's not the way that human beings or evolution in itself are designed. We're much better at creating something which is responsive to the unknown than creating something through science or proper planning which is going to anticipate every foreseeable circumstance. So, for something like that, there's a lot of different ways I can take it. And, I've got about 6 months of different things I can do. But what I'm picked to start out with is when I was first getting, after I left the police and I was first getting the stuff off the ground during uni, I did a bit of part-time work at just on the phones there, answering the emergency calls and that sort of carry on. So the logical step for me was what is a role or an organization that deals with that sort of situation that relies on using the phones, because I've got that recent contextual example. So I picked, things like ISPs, power companies, local government, insurance, things like that, where you get people that call up and basically treat like a piece of shit because you're the gatekeeper, really. They're pissed off at Vodafone or the insurance or what for not paying out because they've cut this off. And you're the guy on the end of the phone that has to wear all the flack and kind of stand in between them. And they're just treating you like crap because they just want to manipulate you to get something done, and you're the guy that's going to stand in the middle. So basically what I picked that as training their staff, and this is the first kind of thing I'm really getting out there and pitching, training their staff to deal with a situation which is a rock and a hard place one, where people are going to treat you like crap all day, and even if you've got the best communication skills in the world, some people are just going to walk all over you all day. And so it's learn to be resilient and in fact thrive in that sort of environment, to see what's good in it and to grow from it. So that is an example of, what I'm talking about is a very big, wide, nebulous kind of concept. And in fact, what I see I'm selling is almost like a philosophy or an ethos. But you need to pick a specific product like that, in fact, because otherwise you just chase your tail forever doing a little bit of this, that, a little bit of you never make any progress.
Focus.
So,
yeah.
Even that's probably not my ideal end, market, going on in the future. It's just that is something which I know how to do now. I already had a body of knowledge from some of the workshop shit, which I've been doing over the last couple of years as well, where I could easily move into that zone. So here's an easy win, which enables me to get out there and get that real experience of it. And, I think that's a really good, important thing to just launch, to get out there and get something out there. But also, it is something that ties in really tight with the stuff that I teach as well. Is that, an example that I use when I'm talking about this more in the concept of business planning is there's an app, and I forget the name of it and what their exact service was, but it was something like a location-based app. Let's just say, for example, it's finding your local pizza restaurant. It was something like that. And so these guys launched it and put it out there, and they launched it when it was pretty much like half done. There was all these bugs in it. And the first couple of reviews were, this app's fucked. It's got all these errors in it. This thing's not working. It would be really good if this and that weren't fixed. But that's the way that you get that feedback, because otherwise you can spend 6 months in R&D trying to anticipate what the customer wants, whether this is going to work or it's going to be a big issue or not. The best way is just to launch it and get that real-time feedback and not be afraid of making those mistakes, you know what I mean?
Hey, if you sat there and waited to try and perfect it, by the time you get to the point where you think you perfected it, the technology's changed anyway, or the environment's changed. And see, forever, as you said, you're chasing your tail just to try and get there above the market. So, 100% agree.
You've got to take action, you know what I mean? And so I think it is about creating that minimum viable product and just launching. And these guys, of course, they save themselves a lot of time planning because, in a sense that, the customer's doing your bug checking for you in a way. And I mean, you want to have it workable and not just a completely unfunctional piece of crap. But it's a thing of, you never really know what's going to work and what's not going to work until you test it, until you get out there and try it. And it's so viable in so many areas of business marketing, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the big thing, coming back to, how we started on this, was just pick something that you've got and get it out there. And when you're talking about, products and that kind of stuff, this is all what I want to do. But it's such a confusing world, if I want to start thinking about doing a video product, or do I get a subscription service that, that's so, you're going to get lost. You just pick something and get it out there and just develop it on the fly. And, I'm sure, a couple of months into this, what the next step will become very apparent, and then you take that step and then the next one. But if you try and look at the whole, mountain, you're just going to get lost with the enormity of it.
Absolutely. You touched on it, and I'm just making an assumption here, but the whole, I guess, don't know if the right word is inspiration, but to go down this path in the first place, and you mentioned being, just doing some temporary work within that emergency call center, is that where the light bulb switch sort of flickered that could be an opportunity here, or there's a hole here of something where development and tools and skills could be taught? Or was it something that you already had in your head before then?
For me, it is honestly what I'm doing now, all going according to plan, without a doubt, my dream job. What I talk about, what I'm into is something which I've been passionate, ever since I can remember being conscious. Ever since I was a little kid, I'm just really interested in, I think that's why I got into metal. I like the dark, extreme, conflict, that kind of, those kind of forces and stuff, something that's really interested me. And, I'm sure most people that are into the sort of music can appreciate, how that aggression and that sort of thing can have a function and can be a good cathartic release. There's all these elements that come into it, but it's something which, and most people have, again, had this experience probably of being in school and not having that sort of energy on it, if you know what I mean, not being respected, or people not quite seeing the use for it in society.
Yeah.
And so, as I got older, I think that's why I ended up doing the whole army and police thing, was, that I saw what, particular role this plays and why there is a place for it, in society and in life in general, is that, sometimes you need that harder edge in certain areas, be they good or bad. And trust me, I certainly saw plenty of bad ones along with the good ones in my old job, but it's that, fluency with that zone, which I think I got. So, to be able to talk about it as a philosophy, I mean, that's kind of what's really attracted me to music beyond the, the joy of playing, was kind of that spreading of the culture, if you like, that you're spreading, and the influence that you have through that kind of stuff is really cool, beyond the whole lyrical stuff, just in your particular zone of metal and the stuff you like playing, connecting with bands of like-minded influence, going on tour with them and, spreading that kind of thing is something that's really appealed to me. So for me, it wasn't really assessing a business need. It was more realizing this has always kind of been the back of my mind, have been the thing I've been following, but now I'm in the zone where I'm just completely trying to make a business completely out of myself and my thoughts, my approach, as opposed to trying to contextualize it in someone else's company or a role like that. So it's pretty awesome, really, really amazing to be doing it. And for all the hard work I'm working myself at the moment, last couple months, definitely getting this going. But it's so worth it, because it's like being in a band, it's just your passion and your dream 100%, you know what I mean? Yeah, so it's not really a case of, it's more that I've just, in the back of my mind, I've always known that there's a place for it and there's a use for it. But, you can be, in any sort of field, there's a way where you can be getting dollars and cents for it. If you really think about how you can offer a value proposition to a wider world with, more money and more need, that's how you get, the bigger fish, so to speak. If you're running a juice bar, you could run a juice bar, just in your local suburb, or if you understand how to franchise, how to grow your business, how to manage it, you create a worldwide, like a McDonald's of juice or whatever it is, tank bar, something like that. You know what I mean? If you've got that kind of depth of vision to what you're doing. So I guess for me, it is that thing of really trying to get up there and just simply take, what the thing that's been driving you in its most pure essence and make money out of it. So
for sure. And I assume that once there's a bit of clarity as to these next steps that you're going to take, that, as you said before, like being within the army and the police force and even with the band, you may have seen it as you were going, but to go back and look back on those experiences, you probably would have found so many, as you said, stories and examples and things that you could just pull out from experiences in all those different facets. Because as you said, you see the good and the bad, and there would have been plenty to pull from.
Yeah. I mean, and that's it for me, as it has been, and this is kind of, the benefit of doing the keynote speaking sort of thing, is you've really got to kind of understand your own story, and it causes that kind of reflection on, yourself and how you got to be where you are today, and that sort of carry on. And, it has been that same sort of thing of really understanding that this has been a thread which I've been unraveling, since I was a kid. It's just, this is the next logical progression of how you can turn it into what you do with, your professional life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess just to shift a little bit, with all this that's happening, and just from the sounds of it, it sounds like it's taking up the majority of your of your life at the moment, and a lot of your focus. How's the band fit into all that, and how have you had to reshape the approach or the vision or any goals that used to be set for the band, and what's changed now as opposed to 5 or 10 years ago?
Sure. So, I mean, I think, for us, what it was for me is that we were going pretty full on to sort of 2010. And then around then I had an opportunity to basically enter what's the Diplomatic Protection Service stuff here. So basically I was protecting the Prime Minister until I left in sort of mid-2012. So when you're doing that, the police is an organisation where they're ever going to be able to say you can't do something, and certainly in the wake of me being on the news and the whole politics and controversy that came out of that, I don't think that they would have said you can't do the band, but it was certainly the sort of thing where if I wanted to pursue that, I definitely would have to keep it on a bit on the D-Lo, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so, for me, it was a thing of, here's an opportunity to do something which I won't get again, that you can only do in that context, so I wanted to make the most of it for those couple of years, and so we did. And it was also, we were a bit strapped for cash at that time. We brought a lot of money to do a lot of the touring that we did, so it kind of made sense to kind of regroup there as well. So coming back into things, we really started again sort of mid-2013, and then it was straight into writing an album. It's part of it's been just getting head around where it is these days compared to then. Because I remember, like the first couple of times when I would have met you guys, like 2006, 2007, around then, it was a very different world than it is now, at least in my opinion, with where music is going, what the possibilities are and that sort of thing. And, back in those days, I mean, when I was a kid, the whole dream was, you just need to kiss the right asses, get in with the right record label dudes. And once you do, and if you play the game for long enough, then, you're made, and once you're signed on this label, you've got this sort of momentum going, you're sussed, so you just suck it up, go through all that kind of crap till you get to that point, and then, eventually you're going to be making some sort of money off it. And I think nowadays that prospect is, more and more slim if it's viable at all for, extreme metal. There are, a couple of notable examples. But I think you're fooling yourself if that's what you're doing. A great example of how I think it has shifted now is my friend Jim, who plays in the Claim Throne, Entrails Eradicated, Distomb, all that.
Yeah.
He was talking about when they did a tour of the States with Entrails Eradicated, and they did it in an RV. And, to get an RV in the States, you generally have to do them pretty well, and it takes quite a few years of slog. And, I knew quite a few bands that were doing pretty well that are still just doing it in a, like a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter or a similar sort of, Ford F-150 or whatever the American version of it is. And so they're doing it. A lot of bands doing that. So doing an RV means you're doing stuff pretty well. And for them, it's a pretty small tour. I think they were playing, sort of 60, 80 people a night, in not that many dates. But, they all work in the mines and they do the FIFO stuff. So it was just a case of, well, let's just all work another week and we'll just pay for it, And that way we don't have to deal with all the stress. We can, live it lavish and have a good time out on the road rather than have to stress about all the shit that you stress about. And that is a great example to me of you can play the game and get fucked around by these promoters or the music industry politics to maybe get the RV, or you can figure out a way where you can just do that on your own and do things on your own terms. If we've got to go on this ridiculous tour just to keep the name going and make the money, we don't need to do that because we can just make the money. We just pay for it. And I think that is really how it's shifted in that it's so much harder to make the money out of music and have some sort of realistic situation where if you live in a Western country, you can actually pay your rent and go out on the road. What you really need to do is be either shift your approach to music itself or shift your circumstances. And so to me, it's been two of those things. Now I see music as more like I think all of us aren't really under the impression that we're going to be making mega money or mega big, out of this. And I fucking love being on the road and living like an absolute dog. But, I just don't think that all of us would want to do that. Like, say, the way that a band like, say, King Parrot or Thy Art is Murder is doing at the moment, I'd like to be a little bit more selective. If you've got the right opportunities coming away enough, yeah, definitely. And it's not the conditions. It's just, I wouldn't want to jump on any tour just so that you're on the road, I want to be a little bit more choosy about the way we present ourselves, the more like the logistical conditions in which you're presenting your music. So it's that, and it's also shifting that now, for the reasons I was talking about before. It's not so much about making money, it's in that what you can get out of music. Still to this day, I can go to all these countries around the world and sleep on people's couches and, hang out have friends in a social group where I can move to all these countries and I'll be set up. Whereas, if I didn't have music and metal, no way you'd have that. You'd be a stranger in this foreign, fucking land trying to make friends, trying to start from zero. So it's the connections that you have, not only personally, but if you think about what I'm doing with talking and whatever other business stuff you got going on, it's being able to leverage that as well, which I think is something which is invaluable, man. You can't pay for that. The community and the respect and the friends that you make through metal and that common bond is something which is, priceless. I see it as
unique, isn't it?
Yeah. And I would rather maximize the benefits to be had there at the expense of revenue than try and cut corners or, denigrate your brand as such, what I mean? Like play with bands that you don't really want to play with or that are, going to piss off your regular fans just because you've got to stay out on the road or it's a big tour, So being able to be a bit more selective about the kind of stuff and see it as something that you do right rather than something that you kind of abuse to an extent to pay bills is kind of the shift. But it's also the speaking sort of stuff. I'll put it this way, like a starting rate for doing a keynote talk for an hour is easily sort of $1,500. There's people in this country that make $10,000 an hour doing that sort of carry on. In Australia, I know there's people who make, into the triple figures doing that sort of stuff. So, it is a very profitable business, but not only that, even if you get nowhere near those heights, there's something where you can realistically work one day a month or work, 6 or 7 days within a month and then have 4 months off. So it's a thing of this is something which, I have to put in the work and get the name going and put in the slog, but it's a realistic prospect to be able to make enough money to survive and survive reasonably well and to be able to take 4 months off on the road and go on tour, because you're in control of your schedule, really. I mean, you've got to work around the business that's available and what your clients want, but it is very feasible to say, look, so I'm booked up all of June, because you're going on the road or something like that, and to be able to work around those sort of things there. And when you're dealing with businesses, a lot of times they can be pretty flexible with that sort of stuff. So really, as far as seeing the band, it's a shift in personal circumstances too, because, I still want to do the music and do that until the day I die, and we all are on the same page about that. But it's just finding the circumstances that A, are going to allow you to do it in the world that we're in today, but B, is going to allow you to do music properly, if you like, you know what I mean? To create, more of a, I hate using this word, but like kind of a boutique product, if you know what I mean, rather than just trying to pump out content and album because you need to put an album out every 2 months. Take your time, do it right, do it on your terms. Don't, worry about, kissing up to the sort of label doing that. We put it out ourselves because we just weren't happy with any of the other options that we were presented with and wanted to keep control of it ourselves, and that may not have been the best business decision in certain areas, but that's not important. What is important to us to make sure that we're playing it our way, not playing someone else's game.
Do you think that shift in perspective of where the band goes and how the band functions now as opposed to 5 or 10 years ago, do you think, is there a sense of relief now in a way, or the pressure's off a little bit, because at least just going from my experience, we're sort of going through that transition at the moment where we've got guys in the band that have had a kid, people getting married, buying houses, and getting domesticated, but there's just that shift in responsibility, but also realizing that it's not really that fun, sitting in a shitty van or something like that, or catching the red-eye flight the next morning just to get home so you don't spend any money, or getting crap deals or playing at midnight, and so you sort of look at all these things, and there is fun along the way, but sometimes it's just not worth it. And we've sort of changed, and we're going through it at the moment where we're scaling back a lot of the touring side of things and focusing on other areas where we don't need to commit ourselves to those heavy logistical ventures. And we can sit at home, we can do video content, we can do online content, we can do all these different things that will ensure that the branding of the band and whatnot still stay, and there's that momentum there and whatnot, but it's not going to tax us like it used to in the past. And for us, just that shift in thinking has just been a massive relief. And in some ways it's very obvious, but in other ways it just took us by surprise that it's like, what, we don't actually have to do anything. Like, we don't have to do something by a certain year or milestone or anything of the sort. We don't have to go out and do this particular tour. We don't have to compete against other bands. We don't have to do any of this bullshit. We just do what we love. We can do it on our own terms. We can get it out there. We're lucky that we've got a core audience of people that support us, but we can just do things on our own terms.
Yeah, and I totally agree, and it has been in the past, certainly, as I was saying before, the kind of ethos before was that you've got to play at these other people's games, and you're kind of the rat on the spinning wheel trying to run, perform tricks for them. Whereas like now, I think most people have realized that, even the bigger labels can't really offer you that much that you can't do yourself in the days of the internet and the way that the revenue model of selling records has gone out the window. So why jump through all those hoops for these other people when, very much like you said, if it's not working for us and it's not our particular way of doing things, then it's pretty pointless to do it, But I think it is the courage to do that, but it is also the vision and leadership, if you know what I mean. Most bands have got no idea what they're fucking doing, and they've got no kind of real management or leadership, and so it is. I think a lot of people do stuff just because they think they should do it. The same thing you see in businesses and organisations. It's having that vision and that drive about what exactly you want to do and following through on it and making those decisions that's going to make you succeed. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a big band, but you're going to stick around and you're going to be happy doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? And we've been playing how long now, like 16 years, and it's pretty hard to keep it, and I think that is really the litmus test as well, going forward, is that you're going to have, and you're already seeing it so many fewer bands that stick around for more than 5 years, because most kids come on thinking that it's going to be this great thing, and they realize just how much of a black hole for your money a band is, and your time and your effort, and they think, well, fuck this, I can get girls by going to the bar or doing something else, which is way easier, you know what I mean? Or I can just stay at home and play PlayStation, and have to go out and do this kind of shit where, back in the day, that was how you used to meet people before Facebook. You had to go to a show, whereas that now all that stuff's available. So I think there a lot more bands are going to come to that same thing, but the ones that stick around, that have the longevity, to me is really the key, And as long as it's working for you, that's what gives you that longevity. So, I mean, what you guys are doing is obviously what works out for you, and hopefully, our goal, what we want to do is what specifically works out for us. So I think it is just that awareness of being able to control your destiny and what exactly you want out there is, which is the important thing to get a grasp of. And I mean, obviously, you guys have been around as long as you have, you're old enough and wise enough to have a pretty clear idea about what that is. I think it's a differentiation between yourselves and a new band that might be coming up, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, even for us, I mean, we still have to try and get everyone aligned. And we went through a lot of teething over the last couple of years where everyone had a slightly different vision of well, whether there was an end goal or not, but where we wanted the band to go. And, you know, part of us in the band wanted to do the big, 10-month out of the year touring sort of thing, slog.
Yeah.
Other people weren't terribly happy about taking any time off work at all. And so you had these various perspectives and outlooks and goals and visions of the band. And it's taken a couple of years to really sort of get everyone onto the same page. And we've had to go through a lot of different stages with the same guys. And now it's only, I think, the more that we've been able to discuss it, the more that we've been able to compromise in some ways. But I think we all realise that we can still achieve. There's a common theme throughout at least the three of us in the band at the moment, and we can do things that are not taxing to each of us to ensure that we meet that goal. But it did take a lot of time to be able to clearly see what that common goal was between the three of us. So we're definitely getting to that point now, which is good.
And the thing is, I don't think it's like saying it's not a race, man. You know, I mean, it takes time, and that's fine. You know, and that's the hardest thing that we've had to go through is, where we are now. I would have liked to have done a lot more touring so far for this album we just put out earlier in the year, but it was, I had some business stuff going on right about the time it came out, so I had quite enough time to throw at the PR side of it, and also, we were going to tentatively be doing Europe at the end of the year, and that just kind of fell through. But it's a thing about, what I'm talking about the business-wise, that is a thing in the future which is going to enable you, once you have that momentum, to really keep it going and to do stuff properly. And so, it's easy for us to say because, we've been throughout most of the world and we've ticked a lot of the boxes that you want to tick, whereas if it ended tomorrow, it wouldn't be, you'd be wouldn't be upset about it. Yeah. But at the same time, it is a thing of realizing, rather than having the short-term strategy, thinking long-term and thinking, for us, it's we will do what we can do on this album touring-wise, but it's more important to keep working on the business and your circumstances that are going to allow you to do that stuff coming in the future, rather than, doing what we did when we were younger, which is borrow a ton of money, to be able to get out there, and then you eventually have to pay that back at some point, it comes things in the bump. It's slowly building it up, it's drawing a lot of those lessons about, just grow this slowly and gradually and make sure you don't kill the seed, if you like, and grow it over time and get that spot. So I think that's, what you're saying is exactly the way I see it as well, is have that long-term goal and make sure that it's something that's durable and it's not going to last, and you've got to put on the pressure so much that the band is going to break up after just take your time, and if you don't get to tour as much as you like to on this one, it'll come, you'll get to that spot. Just chill out and let it evolve, freak out about it.
Yeah, and one of the benefits of sort of, a band that's self-sufficient and not relying on a label is that, that the half myth of shelf life of a new product, of an album or a song or anything of the sort. And as you said before, you didn't get a chance, or you didn't get to do as much touring straight off the bat with the new release as you would have liked to. But the great thing about being self-efficient is that you don't have to panic or rush in that sense. And I mean, we just released a video clip of a song that was, I don't know, bloody 10 years old, and we only re-recorded it probably a year ago. And so now we sort of look back and go, well, shit, we've got so many songs through our back catalogue that, we haven't really highlighted or given a good spotlight. So we'll just do video clips, stuff it, we're lucky. We're lucky in the sense that, Tim's a bit of a whiz kid when it comes to video production, and so we pay bugger all to get it done. And I'm sure for a lot of other bands, it's not as easy. But we've got this concept and this philosophy with it now that the songs aren't dated, and songs are timeless, as we always everyone discovers music that's decades old and can be life-changing and whatnot. And so we sort of go back and we'll continue to produce new content, but we're not going to be panicking that we don't have a new song or a new product to push. We can always go back and give a song a second lease of life, so to speak. So it's you definitely got a little bit more time on your hands, but it depends on what your goal is. If you want to break into some sort of chart or anything of the such, where you're relying on a more sort of industry recognition and whatnot, then you might have a bit more of a challenge on your hands.
I think, it's just there's no rules anymore. It's just some people don't realise that, you know what I mean? in a world where there's no rules, it's up to you to come up with the plan. You don't have to follow within this box that you used to. So, as I said, there's nothing to say that you can't make a video for an old song, or a million ways you can think about how you want to run your shit and keep a momentum going, keep people interested in your stuff, and keep introducing it. It's just most people don't have the creativity and the vision to be able to, do that in a way that works, to think outside the box. And that's, again, what I think it's really going to come down to, is the people that have those ways to think up ways that they can keep it going. I think, like, Dillinger Escape Plan isn't one that springs to mind, is that they definitely have sprung out and got a few different angles on what they're doing, particularly that Party Smasher kind of buzz that Ben's got going on. It's thinking about broader than just a band that puts out records and sells shirts and plays shows. There's a deeper thing to what you're about, and the people that can be creative and leverage the stuff that you get out of music is the people that are going to do well.
Absolutely. It's just thinking outside the box, and I think just not being tied into what it's like. I might be going off on a tangent here, but it's like tradition, the word tradition, and people do things because, well, it's just the way that's always been. I do that because it's tradition. What's the meaning behind it? Why are we actually doing it? Well, it's because everyone else has. And it's very much the same in a music format and in being in a band and young kids getting started, and you might have some old rocker parents or something like that passing on their perception of what rock music and metal and everything's all about, and it sort of just gets passed down the line. And so you see these kids, and it's not just kids, it's just anybody out there and doing music and are just doing things that are just so backwards now, and doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, and they just keep failing miserably. But there's no perspective, there's no chance for them to stand back and go, well, hang on, maybe I shouldn't keep doing the same thing and failing miserably. Maybe I should do something different, because it's not an industry that's regulated. You don't have to work to a set of rules, as opposed to something else that's a bit more strict. So you do have creative license to really break any molds, but it's all a perception thing, and I guess it's going to come down to other bands who are taking leaps and bounds into new territory that will open up doors for other bands, and it's just been natural that other bands will just follow down those same paths and jump on the bandwagon.
I think I think there's a lot to be said for persistence and just knowing what you're about and sticking to it. Like, Plural, I think, is a great example of a band that they've been around for fucking ever. And, really, it's only in the last sort of 3-4 years that they've really got, kind of what they've got going on now. The word's got out. There's certainly a band, I was aware of, the underground sort of 2003, 2002, 2004, I think, when I would have first heard of them, and they've been around forever. And it's only now that all these people out there in the world are twigging on to what they're doing. And, I think it is that thing, like if you get too caught up in the results of what you do, and this kind of hinges back into some of the conflict shit that I talk about. If you're in an uncertain and a unsure situation and you're too sensitive to the feedback you're getting about, well, this tour didn't work out, so we shouldn't try that again, you're never going to stick around. That's where I think a lot of bands are going to fall over. It's just knowing what you're about and staying to it and having that persistence, which is going to pay off in the end in the ways that you're talking about. Like for us, like our first album is certainly different than what we're doing now. And, we've definitely got a lot of shit from some of the older, fans of some of that sort of area for making that choice. But, and if you're in music in particular, it's very easy to doubt yourself, because there's no real quantifiable standard to measure things on. It's all kind of taste and interpretation, and it's very easy to doubt yourself, and, it would have been really a smart business move really to kind of replicate that first album, especially in this day and age. But, we know what we want to do. We're listening, we're totally on our own vision and not trying to play some sort of game or think about what would make us more popular or get us signed on this sort of label or, heaven forbid, sell some CDs. For us, it's having that clarity and that strength of vision and direction in what you're doing. And whether it doesn't need to work out tomorrow, it's just knowing that if you stick to it, it will work out. And even if it doesn't, you're doing what you believe, which is the whole point of playing music, really. If you're going to do things unconventionally, it's quite possibly not going to work out straight away. But it's just make sure that you're doing it for your own reasons and stick to it and don't doubt yourself. You know what I mean? Make sure that this is the model you want to follow. You've got that sense of, authenticity or knowing what you're about and sticking to it, I think is really the key in the music. It's going to be a lot more of a long game than it used to be.
Absolutely, and I think just the satisfaction of doing it on your own terms will translate into longevity of doing what you're doing anyway. So it's definitely in your interest. So with everything going on, and obviously taking a different scope on all these different facets, how do you have any particular what's the way to describe it? Do you have any particular approaches or daily habits that you put in place to be able to maintain or balance everything? Do you have structures to your day? Like, I'm really interested in how people balance out everything, because time can get away from people with stupid distractions throughout the day, and you find out that you've
tell me about it.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm completely crap at that, but that's because it has really been since July a thing where really to be able to do what I need to do. Say you take the workshop stuff, for example, usually at least a month in advance booking those sort of things, right? So to be able to get the workshop out there, you need to have it written, and to be able to get the workshop that you've written out there, you need to have the good knowledge of the sales process. And in the line of work that I'm in, the sales process is a lot more about networking, and knowing people and building those sort of informal things rather than just cold calling people.
Yeah.
So and to be able to be a speaker, you might know what you're talking about, but you've got to be able to, if someone says, "Oh, so what are you talking about?" You've got to be able to express that in a very clear, concise manner. Possibly even talk about it for 10 minutes or so. So where I'm at right now, it's a case of, man, I just need 6 things yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These skills which I've all had to learn how to do and develop. So I've always found, and I've been in that space with a few skills that I've learned over the years when I've tried to make transitions like this. It's always that first part where you're kind of getting that initial momentum. You're pushing that boulder and you're just trying to get it rolling. It's very tough, and it's just I don't think you can have a schedule, but it's just a messy space to be in. You know what I mean? It's something you just got to fire out away and away and away. But once you've beaten that, and this was how I was up until July when I took this on, I think it's definitely like if you talk about schedule sort of stuff, I think it's really important to I don't wake up early. I hate getting up early in the morning. I get up like 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that if I can. But normally, once you do that, though, I'm very big on having a routine and your morning ritual and that sort of stuff is a really important part of focusing your day. Because especially nowadays, you wake up and a lot of people, and I'm certainly someone that does, the first thing you do is like check your phone, right? Or, look at whatever's on there, And that straight away, you're on the thing of you're reacting to what other people are telling you to do. You wake up and you see this message, and all of a sudden you've lost what you were going to be doing for the day. You've sucked into someone else's influence, what I mean? Yeah. And there's these myriad of distractions that we've got nowadays which make it very hard to be focused and to stay zoned on anything. I think that is a really important skill to possess in the world going forward with where we are now. So for me, it's a thing about the first thing you do, you wake up, don't look at your fucking phone, go to the toilet, do your bathroom stuff. Then to me, it's straight away do 15 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the situation, meditation. Then you want to visualize what you got to get done for the day. And then I have my coffee and my breakfast, and I always try to have a very structured, the same sort of thing every time in the morning, because it is creating that sense of, it's not so much for doing all these things, but it's reinforcing in your brain, I'm not going to check my email or look at all this other shit until I'm ready to do it, It's reinforcing to your brain that I'm in control of my day and I'm deciding my routine. I'm not responding to other people's shit, I'm being the actor, not the observer, if you like. And, when you're working at home and you're self-employed, and particularly what I do, which is, not like an output-based sort of thing with creative stuff, it is very hard to tie it down. You can easily lose hours here and there. It's very unmeasured. So I think reinforcing that at the start of the day is a really important part of your routine to set off in that right space. I want to get into when, in the next month or two when I'm able to get back into doing this shit, I want to start running, because at the moment I'm running like 5-6 days a week, sort of 45 minutes. I want to start doing that first thing in the morning too, to get that out of the way, put you in that right sort of zone. So that's something a lot of people talk about, something that I don't do. But after that, I think a really important thing to do is, they say you can only really do, and it depends what you're doing, but sort of an hour and a half of real effective work before your mind starts to wander.
Yeah.
So I'm like really big on, and it depends on the nature of what you're doing, but if you're going to be sitting at a computer doing research or typing shit out or working on something, I set a timer for 90 minutes, beeps, and then I have like a 20-minute micro break where I get up, walk around, get out of where I am, do whatever trivia bullshit you want to do, and then 20 minutes over, back to 90, and just bang up 29, 29, 90 until, whatever time of the night you're going to stop. But I think that's one that works out really well. Doing that and just the awareness of, it's really hard, man, when you go through these spikes of learning a new skill where you've just got to hustle like mad, like I was kind of saying I am right now, and knowing that point we just are going to, after 5 or 6 or 7, 10 hours, depending on what you're doing, you're just not going to get anywhere, man, and you find yourself like looking on Facebook all the time or getting sidetracked on something, and you just got to go, man, this is done, day's over, time to relax and not feel guilty about it, which can be a very hard thing to do when you're in that kind of zone.
Yeah.
So I think it's not just when you're in a routine like the one I was talking about before when you're in that good zone, but when you are in that thing where you're flat out, also having that awareness of not only during your day but during your weeks of like, man, I'm just completely fucked now. I'm mentally exhausted. I need to just take some time and do some, trivial, frivolous shit because, it's really the best way to recharge. Because I'm one of those guys that just workaholic on something, and I know I can go too hard and get kind of sidetracked and get in that upper addictive zone, which doesn't happen anyone. So.
It's
So yeah, that'll be my rant about it.
Well, a lot of that, I mean, a lot of that sounds like it'd be a form of mindfulness in the sense that you really have to sort of be aware of what you're doing as you're doing it and realize when to stop and when you're getting distracted and when you're not being productive or when you're just going way too hard, and it's just from what you're saying, it sounds like you may have read or listened to a little bit of Tim Ferriss over the years, possibly.
No, to be honest, that kind of comes a little bit more. Like I've read the 4 Hour Work Week, and I'm a fan of the stuff, but that's pretty more like it sounds real hokey, but like Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, yeah.
That kind of like Oprah is like really big into. Like I read his book Para Now, and I thought that's actually one of the better ones I've read about that kind of shit. It just makes you aware of some of the thought processes that your brain goes through that aren't really that useful for you. They don't serve you. And so it's a few things like that. But a really good book I've read about this, which I really recommend to anyone that struggles with all those distractions and maintaining focus and that kind of thing, is a book by a guy called Tony Crabb, Tony Carabbe, called Busy.
Yep.
And, he talks about, in the world we're in today, we've got this thing about time management, right? We're just trying to squeeze more out of this limited pie, you know what I mean? And this concept of time management implies that, you've got to try to better balance and optimize your use of time. But, what he really talks about is that is a really, poor attitude to have about it, because it makes you think that you can squeeze more in your day and, that you can take on all these extra responsibilities and distractions that people are throwing at you. And the best way to do it is just cut them off, like don't reply. I think Tim Ferriss actually does talk about this in 4 Hour Work Week, where he says, check your emails twice a day, or something like that. I think it's a similar thing to that, but he goes in quite a bit more depth about it, about just all these distractions, about how much they fuck up your day, because it's this psychological thing of task switching, where supposedly if you start doing something, let's say you're working on the computer and then you check your phone, and you have that kind of distraction, it takes you a good, apparently half an hour to really fully get back in the zone, once you've really got that flow state going on. And so those things are just fucking kill you, man. Kill your productivity, kill your focus, and all these distractions, advertisements, fucking frivolity, Facebook and shit, trying to drag you away from your mission of, doing your music or doing your business or whatever it is, the stuff you're supposed to do. And so it is really, it's almost like a war or a battle or a discipline sort of thing of you just got to cut that shit out and, stay focused on it. And so all those things I think help enable that, help you stay focused on you and putting yourself first and getting your shit done so that you can help everyone else out rather than trying to be all things to all people.
Well, it's part of the power of saying no as well, and not just taking things on for the sake of it. It's being able to just cut out a lot of the crap that you might think is important, but in the grand scheme of things is not really adding any real value to whatever focus or goal that you've got in place. There's a book that I've read a few months ago, The One Thing by Gary Keller, and
I've heard of it. Yeah.
and so the big punchline around the whole book is that I'm probably going to mash this up, but it's something along the lines of, what's the one thing that I can do now that will make everything else unnecessary, or will eliminate everything else, so something along those lines. So instead of going through and picking through all the little easy things that might make you feel satisfied that you've achieved so many things throughout the day, what's the one main thing that you can just tackle straight away, get it out of the way, and it's going to have more of an impact overall to whatever goal or whatever purpose that you've got for the day, week, year, or whatever. So it's not being distracted by things that pop up and try and take your attention. Yeah.
And I totally agree with that, man. I'm the same. Like, I like got a big to-do list, and you've got like 8 trivial things and one thing, which is, like, say, for example, write music. That's a difficult, nebulous thing that can take like 4 or 5 hours, and it's way more satisfying to take out the rubbish, clean the house, or whatever those menial tasks may be. You feel like you got shit done, but really they're pretty insignificant on the greater scheme of things. Of writing the riff, if you're writing an album, is something which you just got to slog at, that is going to pay the dividends down the line. You're not going to see it immediately, but it feels so much more satisfying to do that kind of little trivial ticket off shit. It takes a lot of self-honesty, I think, as well, man. You want to do all that kind of fun stuff and avoid, because often it is this shit where and I'm having that right now, writing this fucking keynote, I tell you, it was just banging head against the fucking wall, going nowhere, like staring at a screen for half an hour and not getting anything done. But it's what you got to do, man. When you're first learning that skill and you're putting in that hard work, that's what it's going to be like. But it's just staying focused on it is the hard thing, yeah.
That's it. But as you said before, once you get through that's feeling of a barrier there, once you break through that, then that's when your momentum kicks in. That's when it gets a hell of a lot easier, and you can really sort of ride whatever comes after breaking through that initial challenge of developing the skill or developing whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. That might be new ground.
Yeah. I think it is. It's that kind of drudgery of, if we talk about like playing sports or something, if you want to be a good basketball player, let's say, you just got to like dribble the ball a million times, you got to shoot a million shots, and it's fucking drudgery, man, and and you feel like you're going nowhere, and it's just repetition, and it's really easy to get distracted or to get despondent about it. But anyone that's a master of anything, they love the game, they love the process of just getting out there and doing that sort of stuff. And it's something you see with the gym, like I've been through periods of my life where, you just can't be fucked, and going for a run, for example, feels like a pain in the bum, but it's not thinking about when is this going to be over. It's learning to love the experience and identify with, this is what I do, on a consistent basis. This is who I am. That gets you through that and makes the champion and anyone that does any shit like that. Like playing guitar is another excellent one, rather than seeing it as a chore, it's just loving the noodling and playing, keeping your hands busy on it and shit like that is what makes a good guitar player, as opposed to someone that just never really gets any good at it, And it's being able to consciously control your mind to apply that to whatever skill you're trying to pick up, which sometimes can be a fucking hassle, which I think allows you to do it, Just seeing that drudgery and the persistence, if you like, is, being an essential part of mastery,
Well, and that's just going back to what we said before as well about not rushing or panicking and thinking that you've got to do something by a certain time. I mean, it's good to put time goals in there to try and achieve things, but if you're just constantly putting all your mental energy into getting to that end goal, but not wanting to put in the hard yards beforehand, then that whole journey is just such a painful process to go through, and that's when most people don't even get to a quarter of the way through. That's when they just give up and find something else that seems to be a little bit more pleasing to take on. So it's
Yeah. I talk about this in like this speech I'm just writing, actually, funnily enough. It's a thing of like people are looking for a completion of things in life, right? They're thinking like, if I got this job, or I got this material item, or I got this girl, or I got this money, life would be easy. But it never ends, man. There's always something else that's going to come up, and it's always going to be that progression of like a when can I just relax? You know, you're never fucking going to get to relax, man. That's what life is. And it's, you know, stop looking for a completion of things in life, learning to appreciate, you know, and love the tussle, if you like, and the ups and the downs, and enjoy the process is, you know, what makes people that have the resilient mindset and can survive in difficult, adverse circumstances or master any sort of skill. You know, it's people that aren't looking for the magic pill and the end result. They're enjoying the process of getting there as much as the end, which we all enjoy. You know, it's learning to love the shit along the way. That is the mindset shift that people need to make, you know. But it's one that I think in the world that we're in today, man, is so underrated, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, you know, it's more and more what gets portrayed to you through the media is this world of, you know, people that don't have to go through all this kind of shit or have got a shortcut to get somewhere and, you know, it can live this life of kind of luxury, you know what I mean? And I certainly see it, you know, not want to sound like a bit of cynical old man here, but, you know, with like the younger generation, there's that lack of persistence and that lack of dedication to the game for its own sake that I was talking about, which is the problem, you know. People try something for 2 weeks, they don't get successful at it, and so they just give up and try something else, you know.
It's that pursuit of short-term gratification that everyone's looking for.
Like with bands, you know, it's like, well, I've thrown all this money at it and all this time at it, you know, for 2 years now. We're not famous, and people are still wondering when I'm going to be able to quit my job and, you know, live full time with the music. And if that's the way you see things and that's the lens that you have, you're in the wrong. You've got the wrong mentality. You're in the wrong game. You know what I mean? You've got to love it so much that, like we all do, you know, it makes no sense on paper and it fucking wastes your time, your energy, and everything else. But without it, your life's empty and vapid. And so, you know, why would you do anything else?
That's it. Absolutely. Well, on that note, I think that's a good note to end on. I'm going to put a bunch of links to the band and also the new album and everything so people can check it out. And when you've got some new stuff popping up for your keynote and whatnot, so flick it through and I'll add that as well. And might have to do a follow-up sometime next year when you're up and running full swing. Yeah, man.
So when do you think you're going to chuck this up roughly?
Probably in a couple of weeks' time.
Sweet.
I've just got I've got a couple more people I'm going to do this week, and I've had a bit of a pain in the ass with some of the episodes. I put one up last week and its website's crashed, so I reckon probably about 2 to 3 weeks it'll be up.
No, that's good for me because at the moment, like my website, I haven't really got that much shit up on there, but I'm delivering this keynote on next Monday, which I'm just frantically trying to get this shit all typed for. And once I've done that, I've got a whole bunch of like half-written blog posts that I'm going to start throwing together pretty soon too as well. Yeah, so hopefully by that point, you know, we'll be up in a position where I actually want to show it to people and shit like that. So that would work out really well, actually.
Well, keep me posted because if I have to hold out for an extra week or two or whatever, I'm happy to do that because I've got a whole bunch of other people. So I'd rather link it in with something that you've got to push on your end as well.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I mean, it shouldn't take that long. It's just a case of at the moment I've got like one blog post up and that's it, not a hell of a lot of other content on the website, so I just want to kind of get some of that up before I go and, you know, tell the world that it's there, you know.
Sounds good. No dramas at all. Keep me posted.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Hey, thanks so much for the opportunity, dude. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Something different, eh?
Yeah, indeed. No, I like it, man.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Lots of really cool stuff in there. As I said in the intro, be sure to hit Rigel up via all the social media links that I'll have in the show notes. If you did enjoy it, please make sure that you let him know. I think it's one of the small things that I can do to thank all the guests that take a bit of time to jump on a phone or on Skype and have a chat for an hour or so. It's I know everyone's always it's really appreciated for me, and I think if anyone gets anything out of it, it would be amazing if you can just let those people know that you did get something out of it, and hopefully it'll encourage a lot more people to become involved, and whether it be listening or actually participating in an episode. All the links for the new album, The Tides of Damocles, will be on the show notes. As I said in the intro, be sure to check out the album artwork. It is just spectacular. It's just fantastic. Links to Rigel's blog and websites are all going to be on the show notes as well. Once again, type in the word antisocial through our online store, lord.net.au, andy.social.au/store. Use the code word AndySocial and get 10% off anything and everything on the store, and that is just that'll forever be there as a discount for anybody who listens to the podcast. If you want to do me a massive favor, jump on the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AndyDowlingOfficial. Very wanky. And just go through and just start liking and commenting and sharing on posts. We all know Facebook sucks these days and gets worse and worse. So the more interaction that I can get on that page, the more reach and the more people I can get in. And like anything, the more people that follow, listen, etc., and participate, then the more things I can do to return the favor as well. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, and obviously the website, which is andysocial.net. Twitter and Instagram is just Andy Dowling, one word. You can find lots of rubbish on there. If you're listening through iTunes, please subscribe. Please give me a rating and leave a little review. It only has to be like 3 or 4 words. It doesn't really matter. It just helps slowly creep the podcast up the charts a little bit. So it'd be great to see this podcast get bigger and better, and yeah, it'd be great. If you're using another platform that has a rating function, I'm not terribly familiar with all the Android stuff and what other platforms do streaming for the podcast. But yeah, if there's any way of leaving comments and reviews and ratings and whatnot, it would just be great if you're able to spend a couple of minutes of doing that for me. And that's about it. Got a few more guests coming up. We're getting into right into the crux of the Christmas season. So next week will be Christmas, which is extremely scary because I've done zero shopping. So and it's one of the things I hate the most. There is just nothing worse than shopping. Maybe I should do a ranty episode about that. That's probably a really good idea. We'll stay tuned for that one. I recorded 2 guys last week, fantastic interviews, and they'll be up over the coming weeks. And as I said at the start of this episode, I'm going to look to do some little just me rambling, carrying on episodes. I'm going to try and make them shortish, but I've got a bad habit of just not being able to stop talking. So it really comes down to whether I just run out of things to say or I just lose my breath. So we'll play it by ear, but I'm hoping that I can just do a couple of episodes a week just to up the ante a bit, and I hope that you guys will continue to listen and get something out of it. If there's something in particular, actually, if you guys want to hear something, if there's I don't know, like something interesting that you might want to, from a topic or a guest or whatever, by all means let me know. Give me some feedback. I'm more than happy to consider it, and I'm always looking for new things to do and rant on or reach out for. So definitely hit me up, and if there's anything else that you have, any suggestions to get the word out to more people, things that you might be able to see that I could be doing better, please let me know. The only thing that is just sitting in the back of my head at the moment, which is just eating at me, and it's just time more so than anything else, is I really want to get the YouTube channel up and running. I'm thinking about doing a vlog on there as well, which is really, really wanky and a bit egocentric, but I'm just thinking more so about traffic and content and just putting up another form of media. I've been looking at a few other people that do vlogs. It does seem a little bit time consuming, so it could be quite cool and quite fun and entertaining, but it just depends on how I can fit that in. But at the moment, the big thing that's eating at me is getting the YouTube page up and running, just to have the audio up there in another platform so people can listen to it, because there are people that just prefer to use YouTube than anything else. So I'll hopefully have that up soon. Maybe that's a task or a goal that I can do for over the Christmas break. That's it. So another 2 episodes next week. Keep spreading the word. I really appreciate it. If this is the first episode, hopefully I didn't rant too much, and I hope you did enjoy it and you'll come back. And thanks again to everyone who's been listening, and appreciate the support. See you later. Bye-bye.